We call the meeting of the Liberty County Board of Commissioners to order. Mike, I'm ready. Thank you, sir. Mike, I apologize, sir. The distracted drive up here.
It's the birthday boy over here to my right.
That's who it is. Mr. Brown, has the meeting been properly advertised?
Yes, sir, yeah.
Yes, sir. I left Patrick over at City Hall. He coming today.
Hello. Hello. How are you?
Let us stand and
Good.
Mr. Moses lead in our prayer and our pledge, please.
Yes, sir. Can I get a young person to do
You sure
the
can.
pledge?
You sure can.
Come on. We'll do it together. Come on. Yes.
The same when you do it at school.
Come on.
The same when you do it. Same when you do it at school. No different.
Don't be scared. We're going to do it together, okay? All right, we're going to pray. I'm going to pray, and then we're going to do the pledge, okay? All right, let's pray. Gracious God, we thank you for this beautiful day and your bountiful blessings. We pray that you will be with this august body and give them the insight and the wisdom they need to transact the business of the community. These and all other blessings we ask in Jesus' name. And everybody said, amen. Amen. We're going to put our hands over our heart. Ready? We're going to look toward the flag. Ready? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Y'all did very well.
There you go. All right, we're gonna do our proclamation here. I've been thinking about this. I see Bobby. Let's do the proclamations, and then let's get in tow for the picture. So proclamation, hold it, next proclamation, then we'll just rotate through the pictures thing. I'm trying something new there, okay? All right, the first one is shop small. Shop small.
Good evening.
Yeah.
So you get me today because Bobby said he wasn't it today. Because I'm a little faster too. We appreciate you guys signing this proclamation to proclaim Saturday, November 30th, Shop Small Saturday in Liberty County. It's a very important day for our community, our local economy tends to do really well that day. We hope you come out and shop, wherever you shop, that you do it in Liberty County. Proclamation, sir?
Mr. Proclamation, November 30th, 2024, declared as Shop Small Saturday. Whereas the day after Black Friday, commonly referred to as Shop Small Saturday, is one of the ways that individuals can support members of their community while getting the things they need for the holidays. Whereas according to the United States Small Business Administration, there are 32.5 million small businesses in the United States. Small businesses represent 99.7% of firms with paid employees. Small businesses are responsible for 62% of net new jobs created since 1995. And small businesses employ 46.8% of the employees in the private sector of the United States. And whereas in 2023, the reported spending in the U.S. from those who shopped at small businesses on Shop Small Saturday was around $17 billion since 2010. The total reported U.S. spending at small businesses during the Small Business Saturday is an estimated $201 billion. Whereas 58% of shoppers reported they shopped online with a small business, and 54% reported they dined or ordered takeout from a small restaurant, bar, or cafe on Small Business Saturday in 2021. And whereas Liberty County is proud to support small businesses and acknowledges their vital role in fostering a vibrant, resilient business environment, and urges the residents of our great community to support small businesses and merchants on Small Business Saturday and throughout the year. Now therefore be it resolved that the Liberty County Board of Commissioners do hereby proclaim November 30th, 2024 as National Shop Small Saturday. In testimony whereof I have unto set my hand and cause to be affixed the great seal of Liberty County, Georgia, this the 21st day of November, 2024.
Give them a hand. All right, the next one, please, sir, the 4-H program.
Good evening, Chairman
Mr.
Lovett
Aaron.
and Commissioners. As you know, my name is Aaron Hendricks. I'm the 4-H agent here in Liberty County. I'm here today to recognize a couple of our outstanding 4-Hers who have made significant contributions to our program while serving on our Junior Senior Board of Directors. So they are similar to you all. They were elected as our Junior Senior Board of Directors. These young leaders have worked tirelessly to brainstorm, plan, and implement programs for our 7th through 12th grade 4-Hers. They've been instrumental in facilitating meetings, recruiting new members, and representing our 4-H program with enthusiasm and dedication. There are some that are not here today, but I will recognize those that are. and that's Miss Scarlett. She's gonna probably look at me crazy because I always recognize her. I always say her last name incorrectly. McComiskey, and Jayla Johnson and Colton Sherbine. In addition to their leadership roles, these talented young people are preparing to compete in something called District Project Achievement. It's a competition. Project Achievement is a remarkable program that empowers our youth with skills that will last a lifetime. Through Project Achievement, 4-Hers select a project area that interests them, conduct in-depth research, and develop a comprehensive presentation. This process helps them develop essential skills such as leadership, creativity, public speaking, record keeping, and critical thinking skills. As our 4-Hers progress through the program, they take on more advanced challenges. Cloverleaf and junior 4-Hers, who are in 4th through 8th grade, begin their competition journey at the school or county level with the opportunity to advance to the district level. Senior 4-Hers, who are 9th through 12th graders, delve deeper into projects, and they have the opportunity to compete at the state level. So again, I just wanted to recognize these students. We're incredibly proud of these young leaders and excited to see their continued growth and success. They are halfway through their term, and so we are just excited to recognize them and looking forward to all the things that they'll continue to do this year. So I just wanted to recognize them in front of you all.
Well, let's give them a hand. All right. Scarlett, listen, so since he didn't say your name correctly, go ahead and say your name.
Scarlett McComiskey.
Comiskey. All right. Congratulations, young people. That's a great write-up, read that he did to talk about your success at an early age. What grades are?
8th.
8th grade? And the others?
Oh, I'm in 8th. I'm in 7th.
7th and 8th grade students? Room to grow, room to mature, room to become more and more as an expert in your respective areas, so we're proud of you. Good job, good job. All right, let's do this. So, Ms. Leah, if you and your group will come first for the picture taken, and then Mr. Hendricks, you will follow. Commissioners, if you will come, please. While Ms. Leah is coming, I'm going to just put her out there. Today, she was awarded the Association of Defense
Communities Defense Community Champion.
Champion Award. So give her a hand for that. That's for her support with supporting the military.
Ready? All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. Perfect.
Thank you, sir.
Now give Mr. Brown the proper name of your award, so I want that in our records, okay?
Association of Defense Communities, Defense Community Champion.
Well, that's a lot of stuff.
Yes, it's a lot of work.
All right, my 4-H students.
Glad you made it. I'm glad you made it too. I'm here. I see you.
Our superstars. Come on in. Come on. Fill in right here.
Fellow right there.
Okay, is that good?
That fellow behind you, what's your name?
4-H on 3. 1, 2, 3.
4-H.
Right.
Got it. Thank you, young people. Congratulations on your success. I appreciate you. Finance report, Ms. Samantha Richardson.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners.
Good evening.
I'd like to welcome everyone to our third public hearing for our 2024 proposed millage rate for the county.
Chair, do you need a motion for this?
Oh, yes.
We don't really Let's do it to be safe. I think you're okay, but let's do it. To be safe.
So at the city, they didn't do it. At the city, I was taking those a little while ago, they didn't do them. Yeah, but let's do it.
It's okay, because it'll show we definitely went in there for a public
let's do
hearing
it.
for the purpose, so.
So move.
Second?
Second.
Second. All in favor? Aye? Now in public hearing, thank you.
Today's public hearing is an opportunity for us to receive public comment on our 2024 proposed millage rate. I do want to mention that this presentation and public hearing only relates to the county's portion of the millage that will end up on your tax bills at year end. The millage rates for the school board, the city of Hinesville, the hospital authority, and the development authority are handled by those respective organizations and are completely separate from the county. Each of these entities adopt their own budget and set their own millage rates each year. I would like to walk through a brief explanation of how the millage rate process works here at the county. Each year, the county develops a budget for its upcoming fiscal year, which is to be adopted on or before June 30th, our fiscal year end. The assessor's office determines the current value of all of the property in Liberty County, real and personal, and issues what's called a consolidated tax digest or a consolidated digest report. Using the current year's digest and the approved budget, the county then calculates the amount of property tax revenue it needs to support the budget for the year, and then determines what millage rate is needed to achieve this revenue. As you know, property tax revenue is the largest source of revenue for the county and is needed to fund operations, services including law enforcement, public safety, recreation, just to name a few. Protecting our citizens is one of the top priorities of the commissioners and the county. Once the Board of Commissioners approves the millage rate, the property tax bills are then generated and mailed out by the Tax Commissioner's Office. So it's really a combined effort between the county, the Board of Commissioners, the Assessor's Office, and the Tax Commissioner's Office to determine the amounts that are to be billed to each property tax or property owner in the county each year. This slide shows the detail for the total tax digest for the current year and the previous 4 tax years. The 2024 countywide tax digest value net of exemptions increased 8.3% or $200.9 million over the prior year. I've also included the breakdowns for the incorporated City of Hinesville as well as the unincorporated and other areas of the county. The net digest for both Hinesville and the other areas also increased from the prior year. This slide shows a breakdown of the digest growth for the county. As I just mentioned, the total growth from last year in value was $200.9 million. Real growth makes up approximately 67% of the total growth, and reassessed growth was about 32%. So what do these terms mean exactly? Real growth relates to the new construction and or changes or improvements to existing structures during the year. Reassessed growth, simply put, represents the changes in market values as determined by the requirements of the Department of Revenue. Another key factor in setting the millage rate each year is countywide exemptions. The countywide digest grew about 8%. However, the countywide exemptions grew by even more. Total county exemptions increased from $557 million in 2023 to $652 million in 2024. This is approximately 17%. So this growth in exemptions exceeds our total growth in digest for the year. This chart shows a breakdown of all the exemptions that are offered by the county. The smaller chart to the right breaks out our largest 3 exemptions, which are Freeport, Disabled Veteran, and KDW, local frees. These 3 exemptions alone comprise 80% of our total exemptions. The majority of these exemptions only apply to counties. The city of Hinesville and the school board, for example, do not have these same kind of exemption mandates that reduce the overall tax base. Total exemptions have been pretty steady over the past 10 years until 2023 when it really spiked. This upward trend has continued into 2024 as well. Another factor that plays a role in the county's millage process is the adjustment for any duplicated services. The state law prevents citizens from being taxed twice for the same service. Since the majority of the citizens of Liberty County live in Hinesville, the county has to adjust its millage for any of those duplicated services. Each year, the county breaks down its budget to calculate this millage equivalent for these duplicated services. These services, as shown here, are provided by both the city of Hinesville and the county. And since the city assesses its own millage for its residents, the county has to roll back the millage rate for a portion for those citizens in Hinesville. From the county's current FY25 budget, these duplicated services totaled $9.5 million, the largest for which is fire protection. This slide shows the trend of the general fund's budget for the previous 4 years and the current year. As the county expands its services and its service areas, its budget increases. As this slide notes, our budget increase from last year was about 7.6% and is down from the previous 2 years, which had increases over 16%. This is a functional breakdown of the services provided by the county by function, and these are basically the types of service the county provides. As you can see, public safety takes up the largest piece of this pie. The county's 2024 proposed millage rate has been broken down into functional segments along the same lines of what kind of services does the county provide. We feel that this will illustrate or paint a better picture of where that millage is going for some of our larger services. There are many other counties in the state of Georgia that adopt their millage rates in this similar manner. And we feel this is just more information, better information for our residents. You may have seen this notice of property tax increase, an advertisement that we recently ran in the newspaper, and it's also on our website. It is advertised to be an increase to the millage rate. However, this does not represent a tax increase. This ad can be very misleading, but it does not mean that every homeowner is going to have a tax increase solely based on the millage that's set by you all. And we'll take a look at that. The state of Georgia requires a tax rollback calculation to calculate a millage value for the reassessed growth for each year, and this is called a rollback rate. Not to dive too deep in the details, but if the county is not able to meet this rollback rate, or each taxing entity actually, you are required to advertise an increase even if you decrease your millage rate. It's pretty confusing, but let me reemphasize again, this does not mean you will receive an increase in your countywide assessed property taxes this year. This shows a 2024 proposed countywide millage rate along with the previous 4 tax years. The county is proposing a decrease in the millage rate this year by $0.5 mil for the unincorporated and the other areas of the county. This is a result of the digest growth being sufficient to cover our increased operational budget. Additionally, the residents in the city of Hinesville are being assessed a slightly lower millage rate, but both of them are going down from the previous year a little bit. Now we can walk through a couple of examples showing the effect on the change of the county's millage rates as proposed. This first slide shows a calculation for a residential homeowner who does take the homestead exemption. This first column is showing the property tax calculation on a simplistic method, but for a home that's worth $150,000. The next column is the same calculation for a home that's worth $175,000. Holding all things the same, this compares the value times the millage rate to get the property tax at the end of the year from last year to this year, and the only thing that changed was that millage rate. The $150,000 home decreases slightly, approximately $31, and the $175,000 home decreases $37. Again, though, I would like to point out that this calculation only illustrates the county's portion of the millage rate. There will be additional components of that millage, so this is not necessarily an illustration of the tax that you'll pay. Also, the $150,000 and $175,000 home values were what the assessor's office provided this year for the average home value in Liberty County. The $150,000 would be a non-homestead property, and the $175,000 value is the average homestead value. And those are based on sales during the year. This next slide is the same calculation, but uses the city of Hinesville millage rate. And as I mentioned, the proposed millage rate for those city of Hinesville residents decreases just slightly. So the same calculation, the $150,000 and $175,000 homes, keeping everything the same except for the millage rate, there's a $2 tax difference under both scenarios. And this completes my presentation for the public hearing. But I welcome any questions.
Questions from the commission before we open it up to the audience? Questions and/or comments? Good. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a public hearing. If you're here and you have questions for Ms. Richardson or for the commissioners, now would be the time that you would come to the podium and state your name and offer any questions or concerns you may have. This is our third public hearing. Let's say at the first hearing, there was one person, all right?
Yes, sir.
In the second one, there was one person, so tonight's the last public hearing. By Georgia law, we have to open it up to the public for their input. Our other sister or brother entities, however they fall, have had their public hearings or are having them. I'm not sure if they've all set. I know the city of Hinesville did their last one a little while ago. BOE, I'm not sure where they are in they all done? So we bring it in the rear, kind of, sort of? Okay, so with the last one. If I'm not mistaken, I know the BOE is rolling back and the city of Hinesville is rolling back. Okay, and the hospital, okay. All right, and why is that? Teaching moment, you can do it more eloquently than I can.
As far as the rollback goes?
Yes, sir.
That's exactly what she described is rolling back for some of the reassessed growth that was on there.
Yeah. So if you live in Liberty County, you've seen the exponential growth, especially all the commercial growth we had. As much as we complain about the traffic they bring, guess what? There's a plus side to it. Their values comes to our rescues and they help us out. So when the digest increases its value, then we're able to, collect from those funds to help fund county programs as versus your property taxes. So all those car washes, guess what? They pay off. Thank you, sir. They pay off. Very simply put. Very simply put. All right.
Chairman, I'll be a public participant and a commissioner. Samantha, you did an excellent job presenting this. This is your first rodeo on this, I believe, but you did a real good job. I appreciate it. I think if you got it where I can understand it, you did an excellent job. So I do say that we are growing, but I would really encourage all the members on the board. We see where that number's in the minus, but we know the county's gonna continue to grow. So all we can do is sharpen our pencils as much as possible. We got somebody from the hospital back here, and appreciate what y'all do. Our EMS and fire protection, building inspectors, the staff here, Joey, and Maria, I won't forget you. So, is she already there?
Don't forget Maria.
But, I do appreciate everything y'all done, and as much as we all wanted it to be 2 mills lower, I guess we can look for that somewhere. But again, thank you for the job you've done, and I appreciate the time, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Being fully transparent, let's do this, Samantha and Joey. With this rollback rate, we're able to put a little bit away into our, simply put, rainy day fund. They don't like that term because it's, but our fund balance.
Yes, sir.
Why is that important? Because things happen, HVAC and things just happen out of the blue that we have to repair, take care of, maintenance. So this helps us to be able to take care of those kind of issues when they arise. I mean,
Mr. Chairman, you know,
I'm sorry.
we won't have T-Splosh. That's one thing that
yeah.
That really helped us.
You trying to get my motor going now for sure. You gonna say something, Joe?
I think we didn't run the motor long enough.
So the undesignated fund balance
Yeah.
is there for governments to be able to use when revenues decrease during certain times of the year, i.e. mostly for most governments on a July to June fiscal year. That lean time to run on would be somewhere between September and December when there's no tax revenue coming in. So it basically takes out revenue that comes in the first 6 months and has to bank some of it for cash flow or during the last part of the quarter. And the recommended balance in those is somewhere between 3 and 7 months that a government have in there. Right now, ours is running on average last year of about 3.2 months. So we're down at the lowest part you can be per the budget policy to do that. So you are trying to put some money back in that fund availability to have that cash flow so that you don't have to borrow money during those last quarters.
Yeah, we don't want to borrow money.
We don't want to borrow money.
All right. All right. Then, Chair, take a motion to close the public hearing?
Did we had some folks that signed
Oh,
up.
I'm sorry, I did
Yes,
not
right.
know.
Excuse me, yeah, and so I'm
I
gonna
did.
struggle with the first one here, because
I did not know.
can't read it.
I
It
thought
was the
I
first
thought I
person
opened
to
it up.
sign, and it was Mankey? Oh, I got you, I'm sorry. I'm,
Oh, yeah, she's with the Development Authority.
yes, she is. Cotton, Servine? Okay, Beth Hancock. Okay, all right.
Okay.
No, I could read yours. Okay. There are no others, Mr. Chairman.
About the same thing, all right. Chair, take a motion to go out of public session back into regular session?
Second.
Second, all in favor, show of hands. All right, back in the regular session, all right. Ms. Samantha?
Okay, and we also need a motion to
Ms. Smith,
approve.
let me do this.
Yes, sir.
We don't want to disregard, no, Derek, you're here, and Development Authority, are you all want to say anything, or you good where you are?
No.
Okay,
Say other than we appreciate the funding.
okay, all right, all right. I know you're new kid on the block, but,
Any additional comments?
no.
We appreciate the help here.
Yeah. All right, sir.
Okay, so we will need a motion for each of the three components of the millage rate for adoption. So the first millage rate is the unincorporated area. And I provided a copy for you all for reference.
We have it.
Mr. Chairman, need a motion for approval?
Need a motion for
I make a
approval.
motion, we approve the 2024 tax levy resolution for unincorporated Liberty County.
Motion second, we approve the unincorporated tax levy resolution from Liberty County. Any further discussion? All in favor, show of hands, please. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
The second one is the incorporated City of Hinesville millage rate tax levy resolution. We'll also need a motion for that.
The chair entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second, we approve the 2024 tax levy resolution was incorporated. Other, any further discussion? All in favor, show of hands, please. All right, motion passes unanimously. Thank you, commissioners. And Ms. Samantha?
And lastly is the unincorporated combined other areas of Liberty County, which includes those other cities other than Hinesville and the unincorporated.
Okay. Chair entertain a motion.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Second, that we approve now the incorporated combined other for Liberty County. All in favor, show of hands, please. Motion approved. Thank you, Ms. Samantha.
Also, if I may, I would like to give a brief presentation on the county's September 2024 financials. And I'll just jump right to it. I know we have a long agenda this evening. Starting with the general fund, as of the end of September, we have collected approximately 10% of our budgeted revenues and have spent 22% of our budgeted expenditures. We currently have 3 months of operating expenditures in our unreserved fund balance. This is comparable to last September, which we reported 2.5 months. As Mr. Brown just alluded to, we're starting to get to the period of our leanest months of our fiscal year. But this will definitely turn around once we get the property tax bills sent out and start collecting some of those funds. Looking at the departmental expenditures for the general fund, there are a few that are running slightly ahead of schedule, still due to the timing of some of the contracts and vendor payments that require payment up front for the entire fiscal year. This skews some of the departments to show that they are over budget, but actually on an annual basis, this will all level out. This is the case I've noted for IT, the assessor's office, the sheriff, and the jail. For these remaining departments that are showing variances for September, there are none causing us any concern, and we fully expect these departments to fall back in line as we continue out throughout the fiscal year. Turning the page to solid waste, at the end of September, the solid waste department has a net loss for the year, approximately $138,000. We've collected right at 16% of our total budgeted revenues and have spent 19% of our budgeted expenditures. There are currently no departments in solid waste that are showing over budget. And flipping the page again, this is also true for the county special revenue funds. All of these funds are operating within their budget and are meeting our expectations at this point in the fiscal year. Now on to the sales tax reports. And first one we have is T-Splost. For the month of September, we received $1,085,000. This brings our total collections to $45.4 million in revenues, and we've spent about half of that at $21.1 in our T-Splost project expenditures. Sales tax 7, for September, we received $1.16 million. This is on track with our monthly average collections since when the SPLOST began. Our average for all the months is $1.12 million, and this is above what we originally budgeted, which is always good. And since sales tax 7 began, we have received over $19 million in proceeds and have spent $10.7 million. This concludes my September report, but I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Can you give us an update on our funds owed to the county?
Yes, sir.
Out.
Yes. As I reported last month, we had 2 municipalities who owed us money, considerable past due balances, and City of Hinesville has paid all of their past due amounts, and they're current now. The other one, City of Walthamville, we actually had a meeting with the mayor, and we verbally worked out a payment plan for them to repay us. And they're supposed to be cutting the check for the portion they owe the general fund this week, and then make installment payments on the solid waste balance, my understanding.
Mr. Chair, what happens if they fall short on making their payments? Because you know, at the first of the year, they will not need our solid waste facility.
I'm not sure what, listen, we never have collected on a municipality. I'm not, legally, what?
Be the same process as
Yeah.
collecting on personal debt.
Yeah,
Claims court.
same thing, yeah, same thing. But the commitment was made, sir, that they would follow the agreed-upon plan.
Just keep in mind, this is taxpayers' money.
Yeah. Yeah.
One other thing, Mr. Brown and Ms. Samantha. On EMS service now, are we building for no transport to the hospital?
Yes, we are.
At what point is it
Where
bill
some,
and what part of it no bill?
where someone is called for service, when someone, it calls for service and we go to render service to them for any reason, and then they decide they don't want to go and want to go by POV, then there's a nominal bill that's put on there, that's correct. If they call and want a blood pressure check, if they call and want a lift assist, there's a fee put on to do that.
We have made this countywide known to everyone, so it won't be a shock.
Well, I mean, I don't,
You know, 'cause we just started this.
yeah,
We just
I
started,
think we've
yeah.
been doing it now for 3 or 4 months.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Which is very, very, very common. Most services do that. That's the reason the fee, I think it's $100. It's reasonable, very reasonable. But doesn't come close to covering the cost that they provide the service for.
So if you got somebody injured, falls in here, EMS is called, they go to Liberty?
Well, that's a whole different question. That depends on the nature of their injury and how severe
Well,
it
let's just
is.
say they fell and broke their arm. What would you,
Depending on the situation, depending on
Geography?
their medical history, depending on their background, depending on their vitals at the time,
that'd be up to the EMT?
it would be up to the EMT on the scene. If they have a question and they call the supervisor,
They
the
call.
supervisor makes that determination.
Typically, what would they have done?
Typically, they would go to Liberty. If they're on the east end of the county and there's not an orthopedic at Liberty and it's a severe fracture, they probably will go straight to Savannah. Because to put them to Liberty only makes them have to call a transport from Liberty to carry them to Savannah as soon as they can get them there. So normally, we would go ahead and run that to Savannah. Every situation is a little bit different.
Mr. Chairman, I did have a question going back to the city of Walthamville. Are they continuing to use our facility down there?
To the end of until the end of the year.
Till the end of the
So
year.
they're continuing to accumulate
Yes, ma'am.
an
Yes.
invoice or that we may not get paid for?
But we're gonna still invoice them,
Yes.
yeah.
Not doing good.
But that's like three more months. We've been, I think Commissioner Stevens has been asking for the last 5 or 6 months, and they're continuing to use the facility.
I wish my vendors would let me do that in small
and-
It's up to the commission. The commission could call the county attorney and go to small claims court if that's the desire of the commission.
No, I'm talking about just cutting the services off.
Oh, well,
as
yeah,
of
you can do
tonight
that.
Or that 6 months,
Sure,
3 months
sure.
ago, whenever we were discussing this, and they're continuing to use it.
Personally, I say that from up here, I don't think we're gonna get our money.
You know, as your
But
chair.
I was just
That's
wondering.
just my
if we
opinion.
As your chairman, I recommend that you try to work with them. Let's, you know, we just devised that payment plan yesterday,
Yes.
wasn't it yesterday?
Or day before, I think
Day
it
before
was.
yesterday? Yeah. And let's see how it works. We should be getting one check immediately. We'll wipe out the, what's that account, Joey?
It'll wipe out the election
Yeah.
reimbursement cost
Yeah.
and the jail board cost.
Yeah.
And then according to the letter that was sent to confirm that, by the end of the month, they will then pay 1/4 of the outstanding balance on solid
And
waste.
I guess I can say we do have the support of some of the councilmen from Walter Bill and ensuring that we get reimbursed. I have not spoken with all of them, but I've spoken with some of them.
Now, since we're talking about the election part on that, I know we need to go, but, you know, I made a statement the last time that between the election board and this board of commissioners, to hold a election for any municipality from now on, we need to look at them paying up front. That would eliminate some of this problem that we have.
Well, I think you collect a certain amount up front, but you won't know the exact cost of that election until the end, right? And then if there's a runoff or anything that's required, nobody will have the same cost. And we won't be, I mean, you could do, a deposit if you wanted to, and.
Like I say, for the county to sit up here and wait 9 months, 10 months to get paid for an election that was held, that's,
Yeah,
Certainly,
I agree.
my opinion, but I think we need to revise those agreements that we have with those municipalities, however it may be.
Yeah, we have directed that to County Attorney. Rhonda's already asked for that to be done.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, just another quick question. I guess because we weren't privy to the negotiations. So you said 25% now, or the first installment?
Are they gonna pay out the whole?
25% at the end of the month,
Yeah.
and then followed by 3 more consecutive monthly payments. So that the whole balance, plus anything that's accumulated, would be paid within 4 months. That's correct.
Yes. So 4 months, we should have a clean slate.
Man,
Totally up to the board.
hey, I just bought some beachfront property too in Idaho. If anybody want to buy it from me,
I want to make this
like to go
clear.
for the low.
Under their new contract or whomever they contracted with, they will not be using our facilities.
That's
correct.
No.
Once in January,
That's
their,
correct.
their trash will go somewhere else.
And
That's
with all,
correct.
Solid waste.
That's correct.
and with all
So it'll
due
cut that
respect, if they haven't been able to pay
Oh, yeah.
for this amount of time, I don't see how they're gonna
Pay
expedite it
us
and
and
pay
the other
it.
contractor.
The math not mathing, honestly, but.
Once again,
We'll give them,
I'm pleased with the progress we've been able to make since we started this.
But conversations?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's set the 4 months. Yeah, come on. Yeah. And then after that time, we'll do what we have to do. You know.
Chairman, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Like squeeze, you say whatever you got.
Obligation to a project, a drainage project to the country club?
Yes, sir. That will show up on the next month's report. I do have that noted, but I didn't get it in time to make this. Yes, sir.
All right, thank you, Mr. Richardson.
Thank you.
Okay. Engineer, Mr. Long.
Pictures. Oh, that's why that's so expensive. I see. Pretty big.
Checks?
I wish it was.
Okay, so, what I'm just passing down, I had a conversation with Commissioner Walden yesterday about the Islands Highway. Also got another phone call from another individual this morning about kind of what's going on with the Islands Highway box culvert. Looks like a lot of stuff's really not going on. Well, I got the calls. The calls came to me. I wasn't soliciting this information. So what I ended up doing was, we had, they have been building the precast box culverts off-site, so they're all getting built. We've been over, inspected all of them to make sure they're all ready to go. So I wanted you to at least see proof that, yes, there are precast boxes that are being built off-site. Now, they are ready to be installed. Did not want to try to do that the week of Thanksgiving. So what we want to try to do is start the installation of the first half. We'll start the Wednesday after Thanksgiving. So not this week, but the following week, they'll start installing these precast box culverts. So after that, then they'll do the parapets, head walls on that side, and then very quickly move the road over to the, on top of the new box culverts, and then they'll tear out the other section and redo the half. Now, when we put this all together, a couple months ago, when we got started with this, we had a schedule that we went through and realized, and I think I've told you a couple of times, that we didn't have enough contract time on there, so that we'll be coming back and talking to you a little bit about contract time. Their contract time has, their contract schedule we worked on has them finishing mid-February, which they think they're still on track. I think they're about 2 weeks behind, so they should finish into February is my prediction. As long as we don't have, a lot more hurricanes or something that really slows them up. What I'd like to do is ask for a time extension to March 31st, which gives us time to do closeout and the other things that we need to do as far as dollars and cleaning up payroll reports and all of that stuff at the end of the contract. So that's what I'd kind of like to do. They're doing good at holding tight on the budget. They've run into some subgrade issues where it's kind of soupy underneath it, and they've come up with some solutions that they're going to fund for themselves to make it go faster for them. So, and they're good suggestions. So while it may not look like they're doing stuff on the job site, they are actually working, and these things are moving along. So we don't have to approve it tonight, but I am recommending that we go to March 31st with their contract time. That way I don't have to come to you and say, hey, we want it into February, get it into February, I need 30 more days. I'd like to just try to get it all at one time, and I have to come to you twice. That being said, I'll go ahead and move on if you want me to.
So I'm listening, I'm trying to discern.
We don't have to do it tonight. If you want to do it tonight, that's great. I have until December 3rd meeting. We'll need to do it the December 3rd meeting if we don't do it tonight.
Commissioner, any reason not to do it tonight?
The rest of the commissions if they wish.
Yeah.
I don't know who's going down there looking at it, but every time I went down there, there ain't but two people, and one's doing this.
And once,
I mean, I don't know anything about the people. I mean, we went because they was the low bidder or the only bidder.
in this case, they were the only bidder, but they were within reason, and we did work with them on the prices and the options, and we got it back down to our budget amount. So.
And what's the bond they put up?
They've got a full bond for $1.9 million.
So, Mr. Chair, so basically, you're just telling us that you don't think they're going to be able to do it by February, correct?
No. What we did in the contract, when we wrote the contract, we wrote the contract too short on time.
Who wrote? I didn't write the contract.
Yeah, no, we did. We did, when we put it all together up front.
Right.
And then when we got the bids and we were trying to get the prices like we should be and where we needed to be,
Took us some time.
they came up with a schedule. And we all agreed to the schedule and didn't realize that we didn't do a change order for the time
For the time.
when we did the change order for the price. So right now, the contract end date is December 10th, which, that was not in their schedule to finish on the 10th in the first place. So, and that's why I've been saying the last couple of months that we've got to go ahead and do something about the time contractually so that they have time to complete in the time that they said that they would complete it.
Either we do it tonight and it's done, or we wait until the December meeting. Nothing's gonna change between now and then, so.
No, sir. The only thing that'll start changing between now and then is they'll start putting in the box culvert.
Yeah.
And where's the box culverts at? Norway?
No, sir, no, sir. They're over at precast yard in Bryan County. That's where the company is that's making it.
Well, right now, of course, it's not, I just have some family and friends that's been asking me, and I told them I don't know. I asked them to call Mr. Stevens, and they said, well, they didn't want to raise no stink, but that's the reason why I ask. I mean,
Yes, sir.
I understand that there's mud on people's face from that hole, but most of it's on our face. You know, because it's not finished. I mean, the box culvert's already been on site before there was ever anything done.
I understand. And there is that philosophy. Yeah, yes, sir, and there is that philosophy. And that is one of the things that we did do at the very beginning. We started going through the shop drawing review process to get that, because they really can't put those boxes into process until they get the contract signed. Then we go through a shop drawing process. Then they put them into production. So the way the contract's written and doing that, you know, having them there, having the boxes before they start digging, you know, that would have actually run the contract out a little bit further than it is now. It's just, they would have delayed tearing out where they're tearing out.
Mr. Chair, I really don't see an issue with it. I mean, we just did a contract with a municipality who haven't paid us in over a year, and we expect them to pay us in 4 months. So I think we could do this. Makes sense for the time.
Chair, entertain a motion?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Is there a second?
What are we voting on, Mr. Chair, to extend
To,
the time?
yes, ma'am, to March
Extend the time
31st.
to March 31st.
They not only, there's no way possible they don't have it done by December the, what was it?
December 10th.
December 10th.
I'd like a side note on it. Of course, Commissioner Stevens, he drives as much as anybody, but we need to have more than every 30 days notice on it, because I haven't seen any work down there, Trent. I mean, to speak of, it's just 2 people, and I don't see even a piece of equipment. I saw a piece in the hole, and they had to get another piece of equipment to pull it out. So, you know, I don't know if this is their first rodeo or not, but
No, sir, and they did have that issue with the subgrade.
I don't like,
The equipment did sink.
I mean, if, you know, this guy's a reputable contractor, and I hate it for him that he's got down there, and there's a hurricane and wet weather and all that, but I mean, it was already a wet hole, because that's what we was replacing, culvert. So let's just give him some time, and I would like to just, you got to tell anybody, just tell me, say, hey, we got everything looking good, here's some pictures, and let's see what it looks like by the end of December.
I can do
If
that.
it don't look like it's been anything done but aggravating the dirt, then I'm not gonna be for giving it to no daggone
Yes, sir.
March. I mean,
Actually-
I just ain't gonna do it.
And I'll be glad to add you on the little email chain. We do several inspections a week out there where we
Add
take.
me on an email chain, just call me and tell me.
Yes,
I
sir.
mean, I'd go down there, but, you know, when you
I can do
drive
that.
over it, you basically looking
Can't
ahead,
tell.
because you don't wanna fall off in the hole, but just, let them
I can
know
do that.
it's,
I can certainly do that.
So in other words, this picture was just to appease us for a little bit.
I'll support the motion.
That's part of the story. Motion and second. All right.
But
Till
you're going to make
March.
sure that they're,
Yeah, Keith is down there 2 or 3 times a week with them, trying to push this along.
and talking to the 2 people Commissioner Walden was discussing.
He does, he does.
It don't take him long to talk to him, Nate, but 2 days.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
before we take a vote on this, Mr. Long, I've had great respect for you. I've only been up here 26 years,
26.
but only when you got a problem down in that district, I think you know my number.
Yes, sir.
You can
Yes,
pick
sir.
up that phone and call me.
Yes, sir. And I'm sorry, I didn't really realize it was a
Sorry, I'm
district.
not gonna get it now, 'cause I'm tired of this mess,
Yes, sir.
being disrespected sometimes. It goes a long ways.
Thank you. I apologize, I did not know I was disrespecting you. I really did not.
All right, motion and second. All in favor, what's the March the
31st.
March 31st.
March 31st, that's the motion on the floor. All in favor, show of hands, please. All right. Okay, motion passes, all right.
Okay.
This is your baby, sir.
All right, so the Highway 17 Barrington Ferry Road roundabout got through the concept team meeting with very few comments. Really got a good commendation from DOT that we had a good presentation to the team, so that went well. The comments on the concept report are being turned back in hopefully tomorrow. That way that will take care of that. Then they should be able to turn me loose to go into full design on that roundabout first part of the year. We actually have 3 contracts that are under contract with Taylor's Creek Construction, Wells Cemetery Road, the pickleball courts, and the Limerick Road roadway repairs. We had pre-construction conferences on all 3 of those, working on schedules and timing and getting shop drawings. They actually started sending shop drawings to us on that. And Commissioner Jones, I do need to sit down and talk to you about the Limerick job as far as schedule goes on it as well before we set all the dates on that contract. So I'll just give you a call on that in the morning if that's okay. Intended when we were trying to get together this afternoon to go over that question with you, but wasn't able to get together with you. So I'll make sure I get together with you on that. The water system, Western Railroad, opened today. Bids came in about $330,000, $3.3 million. We're going to try to cut a little bit out of that to get back down to the construction funds we have. It's pretty close, but we do have optional items that we identified in the pre-construction conference that we would be taking it out to get back down to the monies to which we have. The low bidder or low proposer at this time was Palm Coast. We will be sitting down looking at the rating those proposals tomorrow, and we'll be making a recommendation to you regarding that project on December 3rd.
There won't be any major obstacles in our way for that project, the railroad people and all that kind of stuff? Okay.
No, sure.
How about your easements you was talking about earlier?
Well, the only one, we still, Kelly Davis is still working on the condemnation on that one piece. But we can go ahead and get started on all the other pieces and get everything ordered on that so we can be moving forward. Okay. Want to get back down to kind of get back on track with where I was there. I apologize. Live Oak Drive is coming along good with the design. Trying to go through and do a little bit of redesign or kind of tightening up a little bit on the drainage. We got a little bit too heavy on drainage pipes and catch basins. So we're trying to get it back down to where we have it in a little bit better budget or closer to our original budget. So we're working on that now. So hopefully in a couple of weeks, we'll have a set of plans that we can put out on the streets. And before I do that, I'll bring you a copy so you can look at it and see. We finished up the lead survey that's required for the water system. There were about 30 or so customers that we have that didn't respond. We don't know what their service line material is. So a new letter will have to go back out to them. They didn't respond to our initial letter, so we'll have to get send out another letter to them. I got that letter with Mr. Brown, and that should go out first part of next week.
What were the options to respond?
So basically, we just send them a letter saying, hey, what is your service line made of? You know, is it PVC, galvanized, or lead? You know, we tried to have different ways to show them. And just a lot of them came back with addresses that didn't work, or, you know, we got a lot of return mails from those. We got a lot of the addresses from tax cards. And so, because we're sending it to property owners. So we found some other addresses to try to send them all to make sure that we're contacting everybody.
So their response is designed to be by return mail?
Yes, sir. Well, we have them several different options. So we gave them an email address to be able to send it to. We gave them, we have instructions on different types of ways to respond. They could respond by phone. They could respond by email. They could respond by mail. So we gave them a lot of options so that they could respond to us.
What if they was unknown, if it's lead or not? I
Yeah,
had
that's
people
the
ask me
big,
a
that's the
question.
biggest problem is,
It's unknown.
Yeah.
yeah, and
thinking they don't
and so all the ones we have are unknown. Yeah, I don't have any that are, hey, you've got lead, you gotta take the water, you gotta replace it. We don't have anything other than just unknown. Because all of our system is lead-free. So, in all the new construction, you know, and so it's broken up into separate sections. So, the county's portion is our whole water system up to everybody's meter. This program extends from all the way to the house.
In the house.
Yes, so, yeah, I gotta know, what is that from the meter to the house? Does it have lead in it? Now, at some point, I think this is just an inventory. At some point, they'll develop some sort of funding operation or something that will help people secure some funding to change out anything that they may have that's lead if they're not able to do it. Now, this letter kind of goes through and it tells you a little bit more about lead and the consequences of lead in your system so that you know kind of what's happening and why it's important to respond. So I'm telling you this so that as you get calls from anybody, you may or may not. I mean, you'll know what it's about. Okay. Couple things that we'll be looking at during the course of this month too is the Jones Creek Pavilion. We're working on trying to get those plans out the door. We have, they opened up, they're out for bid right now. We got some pavilion drawings and I'm wrapping up some final touches on the site work part of it so that people can start purchasing those Monday or Tuesday. What we're looking at is trying to get those opened up so that we can award either near the end of December, depending on when we have the mid-month meeting in December. Maybe we can do that in December, or do we have the first part of January to award it, or?
Need to award it before the end of the year. It's ARPA funds that have to be
December 31st.
Trying to get that.
contract. Right.
Right, trying to get that out the door so we can do that. We also have had some conversations about the Half Moon Marina and getting that particular job off the streets and kind of get it up and going. We've contacted a young firm that's really good at getting the dock permits. He used to work for that department doing that stuff. So we're working to secure a price from him. That way we can go ahead and award that in the December meeting as well, so that we can go ahead and get the marina dock permitted through DNR and be able to use our ARPA monies for that we have set aside.
Clarify that, Trent. You just said the Half Moon Marina. There's already a Half Moon Marina. You're talking about the one that the county owns?
The county owned
By
Cattlehammer.
Plan and Hammond?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That's correct.
Thank you for that clarification.
Yes, and I do say in my report,
I
Cattlehammer.
was a little lost, and I was just so be quiet for a minute.
You know, I'm glad you said that, because, you know, I did say Half Moon Marina, and that is already Half Moon Marina.
And it says it on the paperwork too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it does say on Cattlehammock Road, but I have it both ways, but I guess I'm having it both ways and trying to eat the cake too. And sewer system for the service delivery area. Been talking to Thomas and Hutton about trying to help with that program and that report. We've actually discussed it and have some ideas on which way to go with the committee that's kind of putting together the East End master water plan and sewer plan. So I hope to have something back in the December meeting to go ahead and engage them as part of these ARPA funds as well. Short of that, that's all on the report. One of the next things I need to talk about, I guess it's the most important thing, are the 2025 LMIC funds.
Mr. Chair, before you, what was the comment on the Jones Creek Recreation Pavilion?
That's what he was saying. He's got to get the drawings done.
Yeah, I'm finishing up the site part. I've got the pavilion drawn. So I've got site plan that goes along with it that says, how do you build the little road that gets back to it and the parking?
Now, on that, didn't, Mr. Chairman, you were proposed to put fishing pier out there?
That may be in another phase.
Another phase, but I have,
I mean, the reason why I'm looking at it, because if you're thinking about putting it where the existing boat ramp is at now,
yes, sir, it's down in that area.
that's gonna be a waste of money in about 4 years. Because it's gonna silt back in.
Oh, yes, sir.
Yeah.
It's gonna silt back in.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a waste of money. Nobody can get out there and fish at all, because unless then you're gonna get mudfish.
Yes, sir. So let me tell you the things that we've got included in what's going out right now. It's not a pier and it's not a ramp. We have a pavilion. That'll be similar to what we have now, probably have a little different roof line. We'll have bathrooms with a drain field out there so that you can actually use the restroom instead of having to climb up on top of that hill to use the restroom.
Yeah.
We'll have a little entrance roadway with parking, and we have an option for the walking trail around the outside.
And the reason why, Mr. Chairman, there was a little misleading factor one time. We were thinking that was in, it used to be in District 1, we were thinking it was in Commissioner Jones' district. But after we went back and looked, it's still in District 1.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Is it?
But,
Well, I'm spending good money in your district.
Spend it wisely.
how about the, Mr. Chair, how about the playground equipment out there?
Oh, they have to be replaced
I was
too.
gonna say that equipment has to be older than me.
Have to be replaced.
Yes, sir. So right now, I'm not moving it or doing anything with it.
It's still safe to use is the
Yeah,
question.
it's still safe to use. I don't know. That's a question we gotta ask Raymond. So I hadn't looked at the playground.
Playground equipment, I thought that come out of District 5's budget.
Did it?
I'll tell you what,
He's not saying yay?
maybe I was wrong, maybe it come out of the second district.
It could have.
my-
It could have.
You're the younger one.
Chairman's plus
I
funds.
could still use some of that equipment.
Chairman's plus funds. Go ahead, Trent.
Okay. So, yes, sir, we don't have the pier in it right now. And yes, sir, I agree. There is quite an issue with that lagoon silting and filling in, with the boat ramp that's there now. That's not usable hardly ever.
We're not doing anything with
You
it.
know, and I think during spring tide, you might
We're
get
not
in
doing
and out of
anything with
there, but
that.
that's about it.
That's about it.
Yeah, so, yes or no, we're aware of that, and we don't have anything set up with that. The marina that I'm talking about is on the Cattle Hammock property, not Half Moon Marina.
No, I
Thank
was just questioning that one, because I know we talked about that.
Okay,
The Jones Creek, can the Corps of Engineers, they dredge that? I mean, could we dredge it and put the spoil on the property that we have and make that a? I know at Yellow Bluff, they had to do that one time because, you know, they just sealed it in and they dredged it, pumped it out, and then after people were using it, it stayed opened up.
yes, sir, and, with the state of where it is right now, I don't know that I fully know the answer to your question. I know that we did look at trying to dredge it 15, 20 years ago, and the price was pretty astronomical for doing it. And so, but yes, sir, you know, it was done and it was dredged as part of when they were building 95. That's kind of where some of it came from.
Won't we just, get a letter to, I mean, I think Representative Williams is on that,
On the board?
on the board, and let's draft a letter up, see, I mean, the easiest thing to do is nothing, let's type a letter up, let him know we're interested.
Sure, certainly.
He might like to go down there and fish.
And Mr. Chair, just piggybacking off what Commissioner Walden was just discussing about meeting with our state rep. I know in the past, a few of us have asked to sit down and have a meeting with our representatives prior to January, and, you know.
Here we are.
I'm
In
not
fact,
surprised, though.
Chatham County just had theirs out from the news.
And that's the point.
Yeah.
And I think that we need to make sure that we put that on the docket somewhere.
We can schedule it. Just gotta catch him, just gotta run him down, we can catch it.
Right. We can offer him some of the cookies and water that we have in the back. I think that he'll show up.
Mr. Long, we got a long way to go.
Yes, sir. The OMIG funds. So we get $448,415.90 in this year's OMIG funds. We're required a 30% match, which means we will have to contribute $134,524.77. I sent out a list of project suggestions, and they're just suggestions. Since I sent that out, I got comments back from Commissioner Jones that he would like to, instead of the villages of Limerick and Rogers Pasture Road, look at Sunshine Lake Road and Freeman Grove Road. Sunshine Lake Road, fixing it and doing some overlay on it to try to get it back up to standard. It'll be about $404,000 to do that job. And then Freeman Grove Road, you're looking at about $1.2 million to overlay the whole thing and do some deep patching in some of the areas. The deep patching is not as extensive as it needs to. I mean, it's not that extensive on Freeman Grove Road. Just a few places we've got to fill some cracks. So we can add those two as projects. You know, obviously we're not going to get all the funding for it. But, you know, I would suggest for yours, instead of doing Villages of Limerick or Rogers Pasture Road, go ahead and just add the Sunshine Lake Road in there if that's what you'd like me to do. The same contribution, 30% of whatever portion it would be as well. Commissioner Stevens, I was suggesting Bacontown Road repair. If you have any suggestions, I kind of was asking a little bit, suggestions that folks may have. That's come up several times, Bacontown Road. So I don't know if that's one that you want me to consider or not, or if you got another one, I'll be glad to consider it.
Rest of them are probably lining up much more.
Yes, sir. And Bacontown Road is starting to fail pretty bad. So, so if that's okay with you, I'll just leave that one on there.
Yeah.
Mr. Frazier, I was leaving Live Oak Drive on there because that way we just piled the money on.
Yes, sir. I like it.
Commissioner Thrift, we've thrown County Line Road on there several times and really hadn't done anything, so didn't know if you want to do something else or if you wanted to apply this some to Mary Todd Road, or if you wanted to go ahead and fix some of that County Line Road.
When you've got probable cost,
Yes, sir.
then
Yes, ma'am.
the remaining, I guess, would come out of SPOS.
Yes, ma'am. Or, you know, depending, you and I can sit down and look at it when we get there, we can cut it down. You know, 375 is covering a good bit of it. If we need to narrow our window of what we fix,
Value
we can narrow
engineer.
that.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Very similar to kind of what we do with Villages of Limerick. We just said, okay, we got this much money, this is where we want to go. And we're just going to call it quits when we get to this amount of money. So we can do that.
Okay.
So we're pulling that off, right? Villages at Limerick, we're pulling that one off the list?
Yes, sir, pulling Villages of Limerick, unless I hear something different, pulling Villages of Limerick and Rogers Pasture Road off and putting Sunshine Lake Road on.
Okay.
Am I right there, Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. Commissioner Gillard, I didn't have any suggestions from you. If you got anything, I'll be glad to add it.
I'm good.
Okay. And then I talked to Commissioner Walden earlier this week. Tyson Lane is about $550,000. Plus we'll have to get, it's about 30 foot of right of way. It varies anywhere from 30 to 36 foot, which is the right of way on Tyson Road now. To get to a standard 60 foot, we'd need to get about 30 feet on each side. And I say, not 30 feet, 15 feet on each side, so we have a total of 60. So, you know, I say 15 each side as a round number to use. So we could do that. We also had on here, from last year, we had McIntosh Lake Road intersection improvements, and you have some money set aside from last LMIG. If you want to add that LMIG to it, this year's LMIG to it, you could do that as well. So I'll do whatever you want to do.
Joey had mentioned it also earlier to me, when you come over, you know, the railroad tracks at McIntosh, there's no decel lanes there for people to go in McIntosh Lake Road, to go into Brights Lake Road, the next one up there, and that's one thing that needs to be done on both sides, you know, the decel and XL lane, I guess that's what they call it.
Yes, sir.
Those need to be put in, and if we can start with that, we can, I mean, I know the state will be out there probably telling us what we can't do, but
They
that'll be
will.
fine, at least they'll be in the county instead of
will.
over in Jessup.
Yes, sir.
But, that's the first thing to do, and then if we need to get right away, we can do it, but in the city of Flemington, Baker Bills Road, is that,
I believe that is
Right
on
past City Hall.
our county maintenance list.
well, I know that, and that's what I'm looking at, Trent, and I wanna try to let's get the grader to where it don't have to go down that way anymore. I mean, right there, you've got Baker Bills, Tyson
Short-
Road, John
short
Martin, and Wallace Martin, John Mann across the road there, so let's try to fix the ones we can.
Now, I didn't look at the right of way on Baker's Bill, so I can't tell you how wide that is.
Well, it won't take long, you can
Yeah.
check it this evening when you go
Narrow.
out.
I just don't have it for today.
There'll be somebody down there to hold the tape for you.
Yes, sir.
I mean, those are the primary things. I mean, resurfacing is great, but, you know, it's costing a lot of money to send a grader down there, and I guess they're paid up. But you know, that's just, wearing a piece of equipment out and drive from county shop all the way down there, so. And then he's got to turn right back around and go the other way, because I think they've already keep one in Gum Branch on the commission.
Yes,
too.
they do.
So let's, you know, when we do that, then that helps the other folks in the areas that needs the dirt roads done. There are short streets, now.
Would you look rather,
Fraser Martin and John Martin and them, I don't know that they would ever, you know, they're not pushing for it, even though those are the longest ones. You know, there's little short streets that we can get done. Let's
Sure.
get them.
okay?
Use the T-Splosh.
All right, so you want me to put Baker Bills on for yours?
Let's put Baker Bills on, yeah, and
And then
then we'll work on
McIntosh
the
Lake.
right of way. I'll see, those folks on Tyson Road. There's a lot of different people that's in there, but, you know, if we can get the right of way.
Okay.
I don't know, we may have to relocate the overhead power lines, and I know there's telephone down the middle of the road, so maybe that'll be an opportunity to get it all out. But I want it to be done after they put the water in. I don't want us to go in there and get it and then wind up having to work around that asphalt when we put the water in.
Oh, yes, sir. I understand 100%.
Commissioner Wallen, Trent, where's that, you said Bakerfield?
Baker
Bill.
Bills.
Baker,
Past City
that's the one
Hall,
on,
past,
He just passed away the other,
past Flemington City Hall on the left.
last time,
Joe Baker.
yeah, he
Oh.
used to drive the school bus.
how many houses on that? About
Oh, man.
4 now.
four,
Is it? I don't
I
know.
mean, what?
about 4 houses on that one? On
About the
Baker,
same amount as they are on Tyson Road.
Tyson's is only,
It's three.
only 3 houses on
Three
that road.
houses, and that's on one side of the road, and then the other side of the road is vacant,
I've never been down
to
Tyson.
build on. Well, actually, there's 5 houses.
That's actually going up into where you,
Well, that property
where y'all
right there
going
that I,
at, to your
that
Hump
I
Club,
leased
yeah.
from the Martins, it's not even, it's all agriculture.
Ah, okay.
But it's got a crushed asphalt on it now, which, you know, I hadn't had anybody say anything about it, but I know that it's a road that's gotta have maintenance on it, other than the street sweeper, so.
Okay. So for you, McIntosh Lake first and Baker Bills second.
Well, I
Or do you
think
mean to
what we
put both?
wanted to do was do the decel lanes.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
McIntosh Lake Road decel.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Now,
Okay.
McIntosh Lake, you know, it's already paved up to the corner, and all you're gonna have is a short piece from there up to about where, well, let's see, that other part's private, ain't it, Joey, the lake, so you
Yeah,
go right
once
up
you get
there to
around.
the railroad tracks there. Yeah.
Yes or no? What I was having on this part was the McIntosh Lake Road 84 intersection.
Right.
Is where I'm talking about. I wasn't talking about trying to do the dirt road portion of this point.
Trent, if you go back and recall, board members, what Commissioner Wallen is talking about, something I've been talking about for years. Decel lane at certain places on 84. So this is nothing new, but for him to add that on, that would be in addition to what we were talking about years ago. Lewis Frazier, Bacontown, Homestown,
And we've
Butler
done,
Avenue in Midway. We have a lot of accidents right there. And this is nothing new. I'm talking about it for years. Trying to work with the state to come up with a way to help us out and make it much more safer.
yes, sir.
Oh,
Yes, sir. Okay. We can certainly make sure that we get that covered, and we can go back and look at, if you wanted to add some of your money on that, we can do that. But if you want to, you just let me know. I just need to go ahead and turn this in.
no, let's make the state pay for it.
Okay? All right? I think that covers us. I'll send y'all out, everybody, a little recap of this
All right.
first part of next week. That way, we kind of, that way you can check me before I send it to the state.
All right.
And Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
Just-
Oh, go ahead, Justin.
Oh, no, just a quick question. I see down here you have possible roadway projects as well. And it just came to my attention, the interstate paper.
Yes, sir, that's something we've had on the list for a while.
Yeah, take it off.
Okay. You got it?
I mean, I'm not trying to speak for the whole, but I know we've been in negotiations with them for years
And a
now.
lot of money to go through.
A lot of money and
Move that money over to the district is at.
yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I mean, wherever.
Yes, sir.
You know,
Let's
with all due
go District
respect, if they don't want to come up with $1 to help, then, yeah.
I understand.
That
So,
gives me more money to take care of the roads.
yes, sir. We'll take that off the list. So,
Thank you, Justin.
No problem.
Just as a note, it'll come off of your list. If you want to take it off of the splosh list that it's on, then the board would just need to ratify that the project is not feasible and make a motion to transfer those funds to another eligible project. So
That
that's,
motion?
you know, that's on the, well, you need to identify your projects and, you know, where you're gonna move the money and stuff too, but just, that's the other loose limb that's hanging over there.
Has the changeover happened yet with international whomever? Has that happened?
It's about 90% complete from our understanding, and I think, from what we are being told, March the 1st should be the complete transaction.
I'm
By
thinking
March.
we should approach the new owner about participating in the paving.
They ain't
See if we
gonna
get a better
spend no money.
response.
Chairman,
Tell you what, Mr.
Yeah.
Yeah, it said March.
Yeah.
If
Wait a minute.
well, go ahead, Commissioner Chief.
Mr. Brown, could you send them and Trent a notice of what's about to take place?
Sure.
And can we get that to them within the next 30 days? They don't come up with nothing then it's off the table for them to participate. Because I can't see us putting 2 point something million.
3.5.
3.5.
3.5 million.
Yeah.
I know that they are industries, but I don't wanna hear the stuff that they hire employees, because over 50% of their employees don't live in Liberty County. I don't wanna hear that at all. Taxpayers in Liberty County deserve more.
Do you want to talk about that tomorrow?
Well, we can, I'll draft the letter. I'll be drafting a letter, because it's actually, the only thing you're obligated for right now is that you'd have to make a decision on is a proposed distribution of 1.791 million to that project, so you really don't have enough to do it anyway. This proposed in T-Splosh, but I'll.
And that's, right, and that's under the T-Splice. And that's the only thing I'm saying, you know, especially after the vote a couple of weeks ago where we aren't gonna have any T-Splice funds for the near future. I'd rather that go into some of the other districts, especially the ones.
Split it up among seven
Well, I
districts.
mean, honestly, with all due respect, I mean, my district, I think we'd be okay because, you know, we still have the city, but it's more important for the ones in the other municipalities and in more the rural areas I'd rather, if we don't pave a road, let's pave one of those with some of my citizens instead of, out there. That's just my opinion, but.
I agree.
I'll be glad to draft it up.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, also, on, I mean, all of us, most of us remember it was interstate paper, and then it changed so many times. But Freeport tax was designated for interstate paper, and then they swapped and went to D.L. Smith. I want to know how long those Freeport taxes, now, you know, we've got other industry located here, and I'm sure that there's a lot of environmental things that have been done to help interstate paper and D.L. Smith and all of them, but, you know,
Yes.
we need to
Yes.
be looking at, I mean, if they're not gonna do nothing but make money and drive up and down the road with it, then that's different, but I wanna see them meeting us somewhere, and you sit on the development authority and you share this, so let's get in some type of open dialogue where we know what's gonna wind up happening. I understand that there's some of these places, they don't get Freeport taxes. So let's,
Remember now, almost every county in Georgia has Freeport.
Right, yeah.
well, yeah, I know they do,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, but as far as that's concerned, Brenda's doing a great job working on incentive packages, and she's putting that together now, so there'll be a presentation, probably the first quarter of '25.
well, I'm saying, yeah, whose back's it on? It's, I mean,
Yeah,
it's on this community's back.
It is.
And let's just try to go ahead.
It is. It
I
is.
mean, we can sit here and not do nothing, but let's just have a meeting, talk to them and see.
Yeah.
I mean, like Commissioner Stevens said, more than half of them live in Long County or Tatnall or wherever they live at. I don't know, the industry, the timber industry is a big thing, but, you know, with these last storms, I understand it's just, some places is $60 million worth of timber has been damaged, so you know, you're gonna have a place that's open, or you're gonna have a place that's closed, and when they leave, we'll be without nothing,
Yeah.
except some wells.
All right,
No
Joe,
money.
Joe's gonna draft a letter for us, for international paper.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
And I know we've been having this discussion, since I've been on board, and y'all have been having it prior to me with the Center State, and, trying to get them to foot some of the bill for that road. In their defense, not in their defense, but justifying the need for something to be done, because I still travel that road pretty much daily. And, it's in pretty bad shape. And I know we have discussed it with the city of Riceboro. I think we've discussed it with Interstate. We've discussed it with D.L. Smith, and they are not wanting to budge. And it's almost getting to be where it's almost getting to be a safety issue of how bad the road is. So it would be good if we could impress upon them that, well, they should know themselves because they travel that road also.
Yeah.
And the employees, it's a constant conversation about how damaged the road is, and it's getting worse. So if we could expedite the letter or contacts with D.L. Smith, I think in the next couple of months it's supposed to be in a national paper. Maybe reach out to both of them, because it's something that really needs taken care of one way or the other.
We've heard that from some of your coworkers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't think nobody up here has a problem with paving it, but we need some matching funds.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all we're asking for.
Yeah, that's all I'm.
Not more money, just
Yeah, I'm just.
Some money.
Just impressing that something needs to be
For
done
safety.
at some point, safety-wise, and, the company should be wanting to address that issue, even if we're not on board with it, they should be, and I think that we should use our leverage to make it a point to point it out to them.
And, Mr. Chair, just a quick question. Even with the union, have you all, went across the road and had a conversation about the safety of the road with them?
I'm not aware of any conversations from the union side. It's just more or less.
Employees talking about internally?
Employees discussing amongst each other, but we haven't addressed it from the union
I
standpoint.
think maybe if y'all, I mean, hey, you
Good
have not, 'cause
idea.
you asked not.
Yeah.
So I
Put,
think,
get a
you
little
know,
more clout behind it.
you all try it that way as well. And if it doesn't work, then it doesn't work, and then we just move forward.
Good idea.
Chair, I would be willing to say extend it from 30 days to 60 days. Time to at least get their attention.
Yeah. Holidays coming, all that, yeah. Okay, we'll do it. All right, sir.
Hold on, Brent.
Oh, thought you, I let him go.
Whoa, you know, we still friends. What about the grass on Bill Carter Road?
I've talked to Harry Moses Grasson, and I'm trying to get a schedule for them to get out there and get that done.
Go ahead and get somebody else,
Yes, sir.
because I'm sick and tired of bringing it up.
Yes, sir. I talked to Harry Moses as late as yesterday,
Is the grass still growing?
We can get it.
Oh, it's
a
not-
little bit.
Have the conversation.
Yeah, there's a lot of empty spots.
What have you come up with on the thickness of the asphalt issue that I mentioned
I
last?
heard it is, real bad.
Remember the inch and a half that
Yes,
everybody was getting by with at bare minimum?
Yes, sir.
And in a little while, in these subdivisions,
Yes, sir. So what I've been looking at, and I've had some conversations with a lot of our testing laboratories, as far as, and what a lot of the neighboring counties and cities are doing are 8 inches of stone and 2 inches of asphalt. That's kind of a standard versus 6 and inch and a half, which is our standard. There's still a lot of communities next to us that are 6 inches and 1.5 inches. So,
we want to talk about Liberty County.
oh, yes, sir. Well, but what I'm trying to tell you is, a lot of times when you ask, you want to know, well, what are neighboring communities doing? So that's one of the things that I kind of want to let you know as well, what they're doing. So, a lot of it has to do with making sure that the subgrade is prepared correctly. And going with an 8 and 2 versus 6 and 1.5 inches is probably where we're trying to head as far as making a recommendation to you guys, because that'll be a little bit more forgiving if something is not as good as it should be, or, something is missed during construction, or if there's something that in the conditions that it was inspected on a certain day, that if it gets wet, there's some clay that's hidden somewhere, something that you can't see, it'll be a little bit more forgiving for you. So I think what we need to do is, I really hadn't had to have a conversation with Mr. Brown yet about how to present this to you guys. So what I'm trying to do is kind of get all my ducks in a row. Did pull a lot of information from Whitaker Labs, because they do a lot of this and a lot of testing for us. And so have a good bit of information from them that leads me to an 8 and 2 typical section versus a 6 and 1.5 inches. So now one thing we'll have to do is, several things we have to look at if we're going to go that route. If we go that route, obviously it becomes a change to our UDO for our typical section. There needs to be a rollout time, and there needs to be a transition period so that projects that are underway or approved or at certain positions, that we accommodate everybody to move to a new typical section.
Let's see if we can expedite this. I don't want to see it sitting around for 6 months.
Yes, sir. I can understand.
Last one is, what about the signs for the fire station on 84? Where are we at? You ordered it, or have you started the paperwork?
The sign
Fire
for,
station? That says fire station?
There's one out front now.
The roadside,
Roadsides.
Oh, the roadside
like the
signs
like the ones
from
that,
DOT?
like the one that says
Oh,
library.
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Actually, we do have those, the paperwork for that is over to the state. I haven't gotten permission on that yet, and I will check on that. So what we did is I had my traffic engineer just do like little road signs ahead. Says I want to put a road sign that, fire station here, fire station there. I can't remember how many feet out. So we should have that. So it didn't go to the state until like a week ago, so they hadn't had time.
One other thing, since I mentioned fire station, I'll let you go.
So
The station down there, Mr. Brown, what is that station called in Freeman Grove? Limerick, not Limerick, by the railroad track.
What the name of it is?
yes, sir, down
Fire
there.
station. The one that Mr.
In
Coker
Fleming.
donated.
Oh,
You know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
I think you might want to go down there and take a look because it's under washing, under the concrete where the trucks are parked at in that station.
Yes, sir. Mr. Brown and I probably need to go together over that before we do anything on that, and I'll be glad to get that
Hopefully
information.
we need to go look because, yeah, we definitely need to go look before we do anything to that building. Yeah.
I don't want them to go get a truck and one day this truck is sink down in a hole.
See, Trent, you should have called him. You wouldn't have had to answer all these 20 questions right now.
Hey, I'm through now.
So is he. We got some guests in town.
I think I got everything written down.
Yeah, hopefully.
You know how to reach them.
I was about to say, just give him a call.
And vice versa. Mr. Culbertson, I guess. Thank you for your patience.
Don't talk about no trash now.
You're out of luck, sorry to say. Good evening.
Good evening.
John Culbertson, Principal with MSW Consultants. And I am here, oh good, I even have a little pointer, gotta get my technology figured out. The mic is close enough that I won't stoop too much.
Yeah, we hear you.
Pleasure to see everybody. It has been a little while, and I am here. I do want to start out with, I feel like I owe Mr. Brown, Mr. Mosley a little bit of an apology. We are behind where we should be in taking a look at your solid waste authority's updated cost structure, rates, revenues, et cetera. I am here because it is imperative just to get a status report. We're not quite done, but we are far enough along that I have some news to share that I think is important for you to start thinking about, and then we are under the gun to really try to get wrapped up and button things up. But at this point, we know enough, and I'd like to try to tell a story, a little bit of background. So the Solid Waste Authority has implemented a really sound rate structure that recovers assessments from the residential generators. It recovers tip fees at the transfer station from third parties. It recovers commercial fees, collection fees from commercial customers that it serves. So it's got a good foundation. The last time we did a rate study, we do about every 5 years, you do one of these studies. Well, if you go back 5 years from now, we've had a lot of changes. So I'm going to give a little bit of a history here. And let me see if I can, there we go. So as we come back, you know, every 5 years or so, it really makes sense to go back over things. When we do rate setting historically, we've been able to bump rates up every 5 years and be able to kind of keep them fairly steady. You do have a contract for disposal, transfer and disposal of waste, so there's got a little escalation on that. So your cost of disposal goes up, so that's factored in. So there's a little bit of increase on tip fees at the transfer stations, but generally speaking, we've been able to kind of step up the rate. So level rates, right? So your revenue fairly level, although certainly goes up with population. Well, since then, as some of you may recall, we've had a pandemic, we've had supply chain disruptions, we've had labor market challenges, we've had these macroeconomic factors hit the materials management, the waste and recycling industry harder than most. There's actually a separate CPI for the waste utility industry that has gone up faster than inflation for the generic CPI. And so here, while we've sort of had historically, kind of flat revenues, flat rates, we've really seen the cost of providing these services, and across the board, private sector, public sector, all regions of the country, we have seen upward pressure on the cost to provide waste management services for a variety of reasons. And I think the timing of looking at your system, looking at the financial situation, could not be better. And so I want to do some history to kind of compare the challenge of having a crystal ball and doing financial forecasts. So I think I've been involved in 3 cycles of rate setting for Liberty County, and generally been happy to say that we've been able to make ends meet and keep general fund debt down and really keep the authority in good financial health. So when we started going through some of the financials here, looking at the growth, looking at the waste generation, which I'm going to touch a little bit on the trends, I want to point out on the next 3 slides, I've got some comparisons of what we forecast for 2025 5 years ago, which is the green column. So that was our crystal ball, right, using sort of typical inflation estimates and CPI. And then the orange column is where you actually are 5 years later. And I think that tells a little bit of a story that's going to lead to kind of where things are from a cost and rate standpoint. And so the first comparison that I have is just looking at the households by all the jurisdictions, which in total, we were pretty close, pretty happy about that. I do, however, need to call your attention to the county unincorporated. There are 3 separate rows. And so historically, when we've done rate setting and we've looked at the cost for county unincorporated residents to use your convenience centers, we've assumed that they all are kind of the same and are charged the same assessment. But over time, a number of those unincorporated residents have retained private collection to come in and do their curbside, and the county, and what I think is a gracious move, has reduced the assessment on the folks that go out and pay extra to get curbside. And so, what I think we wanted to highlight, if you look at the comparison, is it's become apparent that you got over 1,300 households that are now starting to pay for curbside service and earn a reduced assessment. And I want to point that out because that's starting to chip away a little bit at some of the revenue for the services provided. It's not a one-to-one shift of cost from county services to private curbside services. And so I think that's a little bit of a subtle piece of information, but I think if you look at households, overall, we were right on top of it, but there's been a shift in the level of assessment revenue coming in, especially from the county unincorporated areas. So second comparison I want to make, looking at our forecast back in 2020, and by the way, both these tables subtotal the same way. One is just by expense type, and then one is by the 4 divisions, but essentially the same numbers, just recast a little bit differently. And so this is, every time we do these studies, we work with the Solid Waste Authority folks. We work with Samantha and her team. We gather a whole bunch of data about financial operations, tons, customers. We pull it all together, and we project out sort of an average test year, or we project a test year. And so I wanted to show that we forecast what ended up being much too low, not anticipating a pandemic, not anticipating whatever it was, 9.5%, 10% inflation there for a fairly substantial period. And so we have seen, both here in Liberty County as well as across our customer base, and quite candidly across the waste and recycling industry, we have seen costs go up quite significantly, as I think in many sectors. And so the last comparison I want to make has to do with the amount of tons being generated and delivered to the county transfer station, because the final revenue piece in Liberty County comes from the tip fees that you charge both to internal customers, county waste, as well as to third-party customers that just bring tons of waste to your transfer station. And so I've got some red and blue arrows showing that certain tonnage is down, certain tonnage is up. And what's interesting is the tonnage being generated by Liberty County's residential sector is up. So more tons means more cost to dispose of it. And the tons being generated and delivered by third-party private entities is down. And so that's actually reducing revenue from third parties that historically has helped fund the overall system. And so I wanted to start, I know I'm here to talk about cost and rates, but it seemed appropriate to go back and comment on what we forecast not knowing about, what's going to happen in 5 years, and then looking at what has happened. And so with that background, the last thing we took a look at is that historically, the Solid Waste Authority has been able to use the general fund essentially as a cash management capability. I think back is almost going on 18, 19 years ago. I think I'll call it a debt owed. I know it's the way the county does business. It's not really a formal debt. But essentially what this graph shows is the services that the county's been able to provide services, been able to keep things going, but it has resulted in a slow sort of incursion of more general funds in order to keep the solid waste services up and running. And so it really brings us, I think, today to why it has been so important to revisit the underlying cost of those services. Kind of armed with that background, because in a perfect world, I think it's okay to use the general fund for cash management purposes, but you like to see that very slight, that downward trend. You like to see that stay level, and we actually had that trending up for 8 or 9 years, and then it just turned down. We'd like to get that trending back up because that's what you want in terms of overall Liberty County financial health. So with that, I'm here to give an update on this cost of service study. I don't have results specifically, but we know enough that we felt it appropriate for a variety of reasons to just give you some foreshadowing of what we think decisions that you may have in looking at the rates of service going forward. And so the next slides I have, I'm going to go fairly quickly. I think they tell a pretty straight story. So when we compare, we always start with your current rates, and then we take your customer base and we grow it. You have population growth, and then we project your revenue out to the following year. And so we're coming in at almost $4.3 million in revenue, and that's just rate revenue. There are maybe some other smaller revenue sources. But then we also project direct operating expense and the average cost of equipment replacement. And every truck on the market has gone up in cost faster than inflation in general, and various larger capital improvements. And so we essentially project a test year full cost, and as this slide shows, we are coming up that the current rate structure will leave you at a pretty significant deficit, about a 20% deficit, which, given that I actually think that's darn close to essentially inflation over the years since the last rate study. So in some regards, not totally a surprise, but it certainly is worth paying attention to. So that summary table with roughly 20% deficit, there are too many numbers on this slide for me to go over every one, but what this table does is essentially recast the deficit, recast the expense, and then recast the revenue to your assessments and your commercial charges and to your tip fees. And so what's interesting about this, if I could, I'll actually work from the bottom up. So the two bottom functions, Keep Liberty Beautiful and Recycling, those are relatively low-cost services that generally serve all or most of the county, but there's no rate that you're charging, so those are covered through your assessment and tip fees, right? You've got to pay for those services through other direct revenue sources. So there's an adjustment column where we're saying, look, you're not going to charge somebody for recycling and Keep Liberty Beautiful. You're going to recover that through collection and disposal fees and assessments. So when we kind of move the money around and look at the rate revenue versus the expense, we see that the tip fees at the transfer station still looking pretty good. So disposal, that essentially, you're making a little money on third-party waste, which is that's where you want to be.
Allegedly.
Well, no, that's what the numbers are showing. So we think that those tip fees are okay. But because so much of disposal for the residential sector is actually funded through the assessment, by not having assessments go up, it's really that the assessment revenue is low and the assessment rates, therefore, are on the low side. So I'm here just to kind of wave the flag. We believe it's going to be appropriate and necessary to effect an increase in solid waste rates. And again, those rates are your assessments charged to residential households, to commercial customers that you serve directly through front load or through roll-off service. And we can talk a little bit about how to use the tip fee and maybe supplement revenue using the tip fees. And unfortunately, the rates, especially the assessment rates and the collection rates, probably need to be more significant than they've been. Maybe the first time we really started looking at having these fees in Liberty County, there was sort of a shock. And this will be probably a higher rate increase need than you've experienced before. Disposal fees, thankfully, in good shape and maybe can offset a little bit. So, second thing that I want to mention, and I think I heard a little bit about this as I was listening to some of the other folks present, but the Liberty County, how shall I say this? So the financial health of Liberty County solid waste system is better if the entire county uses the system. So if all the municipalities and all the residents and all the businesses are generating their waste and the county's collecting it and the county's running it through the transfer station to disposal, that's as big of a rate base as you can get. So you can provide services that you have a certain amount of fixed costs for over the largest customer base. That results in your lowest unit cost. I think I heard that, and I think we know from conversations with staff that some municipalities may be taking some tonnage out of your system and not going through your facility. And so what we wanted to point out is that the county is essentially serving all, right? The infrastructure for waste management, the transfer station, the convenience centers, in some regards, that is a county-wide service. But if either municipalities or businesses or even residents sort of circumvent that and go outside of the county still has the obligation and fixed cost of maintaining that infrastructure, but now the use of it has gone down, and that increases the unit cost. And it just felt appropriate. You know, I think we've learned about at least one of the municipalities maybe going elsewhere. And as we see maybe some of the curbside services in the unincorporated areas being, paid to private haulers, that waste could be exiting. As waste slowly exits your system, it is also slowly weakening the financial and operational health of Liberty County's solid waste system. And that's a little bit of a tricky one. This is an age-old challenge in our industry. It is not unique to Liberty County. It happens all over the country in urban, suburban, and rural areas, cities, counties, wherever it is. And it just feels a little bit like it's worth waving the flag for you to consider the critical health and sanitation service of having convenience centers, of having municipal solid waste disposal, bulky waste disposal, putrescible waste, brush and yard debris. I mean, these are all, everybody in the county, last I checked, certainly in my state, your state, everybody generates material that needs to go somewhere, and the infrastructure that the county provides is a critical part of that. So it's been chipping away a little bit. I just wanted to touch on real quick. So kind of with those dynamics, the next slides I have are not yet sort of rate path final numbers, but they are intended to suggest and get you to think about how you might want to address the fact that we believe the time has come for a rate increase in solid waste. And I'm going to start with the transfer station. As I suggested earlier, the cost to run the transfer station is actually three components. It's what it costs county staff to actually operate the facility, operate the scale house, aggregate the waste, push it into a trailer, so like the operating cost of the facility. And then you've got to transport that waste on a trailer somewhere, so there's a transportation cost. Then you have to dispose of that waste in a distant landfill. And so the county contracts for the transportation and disposal. That contract escalates, so tip fees have gone up. But the tip fee is currently revenue sufficient. It's covering operation, transportation, disposal. So that's good. And you might think, well, gee, let's raise the tip fee because we'll increase revenue. Here's where it gets tricky. If you raise the tip fee too much at your transfer station, you're going to have other private haulers coming in possibly and saying, gee, we'll take your waste over here because they can offer a lower tip fee at their transfer station. So there's a little bit of a competitive market dynamic that, if not taken carefully, can actually be detrimental when raising your tip fees. But all that said, we think it's likely that we would recommend that you're going to escalate tip fees in conformance with the increase of your contracted transportation and disposal costs, right? Like, you're never going to subsidize that contract. That's a legitimate cost. So I think this is probably a pretty easy one. We threw two options. You might want to bump it a little bit high, a little bit maybe, just to boost revenue, but not a whole lot of big increase. It's going to be consistent with prior annual escalations. Now, here's maybe the harder part, and I'll be the first to concede. It's probably easier for me to stand before you and describe this than it is for you as elected officials to consider and work through how to do it. So the solid waste assessments, which are actually fairly complex and quite varied, because we think it's important to fairly charge incorporated municipalities and the county unincorporated area only for the services that they're not already providing themselves. So we have kind of a complex assessment structure in the background. But what we think is, even though the system deficit was about 20%, that deficit is almost entirely on the assessment, the commercial dumpster collection, and the roll-off collection. So all of those services that involve containers and trucks spreading out over the county to go collect material. And so at the moment, this just focuses on the assessments. And we think a pretty aggressive assessment increase is needed for the reasons that I mentioned at the outset of this discussion here. And so because typically if you're looking at 3%, 5%, maybe even 8%, I would feel comfortable getting up before you and saying, you know what, maybe bite the bullet, might be a little bit of a big rate increase, 8%, 9%, even 10%. And I think that's good. When you start seeing the point where you're falling into double digits and even getting up higher into double digits, we customarily try to present other options for increasing rates, not all at once, but stair-stepping into 2 years or 3 years. And so this this table that you're looking at here is just simply to plant the seed that I think some value judgments would be needed from you on how to go about the business of both maintaining financial sustainability for solid waste services, but also not piling on your ratepayers all at once. And so that's the sort of the story with the assessment is probably where you might want to spread that out a little bit more, but I could not believe this. We actually just did a rate study for a small community down in Florida that hadn't increased rates for like 12 years, and their council bit the bullet and implemented a 56% one-time rate increase. I've never seen anything like it, but stranger things have happened. So I think the point is there are options, there are pros and cons to a one-time increase. The pro being you're going to get right where you need to be. The con, you may have some residents going, sheesh, that's a big rate increase. I think we might also have some individual assessment increases for county unincorporated folks that are essentially outsourcing their curbside collection, because you're actually losing more revenue than it would appear just simply from a one-to-one removal of those collection services. So commercial collection, so when I say commercial collection, I mean the dumpsters and the polycart containers at commercial establishments. So kind of the same idea. You could do 1, 2, 3 year, same sort of thing with roll-off with commercial dumpsters. Our philosophy on the commercial sector is probably it's okay to be more aggressive to get your rates where they need to be with commercial businesses. While certainly nobody wants to pay more for anything, waste disposal tends to be a fairly small component of most businesses. They just need to know what's it going to be. I need to factor it into my budget. Let's get going. You might want to consider for the front load commercial service. So that's going to be, kind of the smaller businesses. Maybe that's a stair step in, maybe a 2 year, probably not a 3 year. I think if you, again, you could go a lot of directions, but I think from what we've seen, we would recommend a faster step up on a commercial collection. We actually think that your roll-off rate, so roll-off boxes are the great big boxes at construction sites where, the developer is throwing away their drywall and their plywood, and these great big boxes. So your roll-off charges are very reasonable, probably below market, and so we think there is an opportunity to increase revenue on that. And so there's a little bit of balance. That could actually be a revenue boost. And then also, we have seen actually significant growth, and I would give credit here to collecting source-separated clean cardboard from commercial establishments for recycling. And so we really saw quite a bit of growth in the number of commercial dumpster boxes out there. Those cost the same amount to collect as trash, same truck, same container, the cardboard goes somewhere else. You might not necessarily want to push those costs up because then you can shift some of that cardboard back into the trash. Perhaps I'm imposing my professional opinion on the desirability of recovering clean cardboard. I'm not saying that's the right answer, but we did separate out maybe as you're looking at rate changes, it's not just one number that covers the whole system. There really are, I think, there's a little bit of nuance from the different services, and just feel like we wanted to point that out as we're prepping you to get some real numbers. So with that, I do have a couple of slides about digging into Flemington that Mr. Brown, I would ask if it's appropriate. We shorten these up. I'll try to do a real quick summary on this current intergovernmental agreement. So right now, Liberty County is essentially contractually providing curbside collection service to Flemington. When that started, Flemington was a lot smaller, and the county operations teams had availability in their schedule, if you will. But what has happened is that we have seen quite significant growth and projected growth of households in Flemington, and there's some compounding factors. So the curbside service that the county is providing in Flemington is Cadillac. It is a very high level of service. Multiple types of trucks are used to collect polycarts and also to collect yard waste and bulky waste materials, and you can see it's fairly capital intensive. But this is what's interesting. I don't know if I actually kept the slide. There are some really, I think we in the industry as a solid waste advisor would say there is a very loose set out policy that is allowing residents to set materials out in ways that are not conducive to efficient collection. So that happens a lot, no question. This happened to have a picture here that actually caught 3 things that collectors try to avoid. One of them is not too big of a deal, but one is loose piles of yard waste. We actually spent a day or two observing Flemington collection and were able to photograph really amazing, on the one hand, amazing service provided by the collectors, but really service that the collectors, to be perfectly honest, if Flemington hired a private contractor, material would not be collected by a private contractor under contract, but is collected by Liberty County in the interest of high customer service and keeping a clean community. But this picture shows loose yard waste. If you give somebody a polycart and they put bags outside of the polycart, that's a big problem. The whole purpose of that polycart is to go efficiently. So this picture has a couple of the issues. And I think this just brings up the point that growth of Flemington combined with not having some resources probably to manage and enforce set outs and educate and do the things that you need to do has really made it difficult. So as you get to the end of your current agreement, we have talked extensively internally with operations staff, financial staff, Mr. Brown, Mr. Mosley, and there is a decision to be made as to whether the county should try to remain in the curbside collection business in Flemington. And so certainly, I think really what we come down is continuing to serve Flemington because it's gotten big is going to cause Liberty County to shift from kind of helping out on the margin with some extra time and resources to investing in actual full-time curbside collection service. You're going to go from a service provider at the margin to I got to buy new trucks and hire new people, and that suddenly gets very, very expensive. And I think so the alternative would be to just say, look, Liberty County really isn't trying to become the next big regional hauler, investing in trucks and hiring more crews. It might be time for Flemington to do their own collection disposal. And so this may have, I feel like some of this has transpired maybe since we looked at some of this information, but at the end of the day, it is appearing difficult for the county to stay in the curbside collection business in the incorporated municipalities. I think it's still working fine in the unincorporated areas and small pockets. But that really has been an interesting dynamic, especially because when you look at the tonnage that's being put out in Flemington, it has gone up on a per unit basis, and you know, more tons, harder to collect. So again, just wanting to bring these to your attention. And I think, again, the conclusion is just some overextended. I have think I might have a question or a comment.
It's more of a question, I guess. I saw I guess it was a couple slides back, you were talking about like the city of Riceboro and Midway. They're using the private companies and they're taking tonnage out. Also, I guess we all in here understand that the city of Walterville is going to be, so that's less tonnage. And that's going to hurt our bottom line as well, correct? For the most part?
So
We're losing, because they're going to be taking tonnage and not using us as well. And now we're talking about possibly Flemington?
affirmative. Yeah, so with,
I guess with that being said, where would that leave us as a collector?
So the dynamic on that comes in the discussion of the value provided by the county's infrastructure. And make no mistake, Liberty County maintaining convenience centers and a transfer station is incredibly helpful for this county to have that resource. I have clients all throughout the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast who are losing landfills and they're seeing costs skyrocket. And so the fact that you have the ability for your unincorporated areas and your municipalities, you have that transfer infrastructure means you can play the market. Now, we have not done any sort of market evaluation. We haven't revisited the pricing on the contract. Maybe there's some opportunity to kind of rebid, look at landfill pricing. But I think the issue is the short-term decision by the municipalities is, oh, we'll get a different deal and go somewhere else. But the long-term perspective, in our professional opinion, for a county government that's trying to provide large-scale health sanitation services is that there's value in your infrastructure. So there are other communities around the country, other counties, other big cities that recognize the value of this infrastructure and essentially have some discussions about sort of an infrastructure availability type fee, if you will. In other words, Walterville, yeah, if they want to take their waste and go elsewhere, there's still some value in a share of your infrastructure. Let's say that contractor goes out of business. Let's say there's a big storm and there's a bunch of storm debris. Having the infrastructure has value. So that would be my foreshadow of the answer.
Right, and that's what I was saying. Is there any way possible we could still have some type of contractual agreement with the municipalities, even that they use the private companies?
So,
I mean,
I think what would happen is you would recognize a line item for infrastructure availability. If you like, we'll be simple and call it that for right now.
Right.
Infrastructure availability, and it would go out on the assessment. So it would be part of the assessment notice.
Yeah.
So everybody would pay it. Because
that's
you're
right.
going to maintain the assessment. I mean, actually, yeah, if you're using, maybe the ordinance says if you're using the infrastructure, i.e. City of Hinesville's tipping with us, you pay a certain rate. If you're not using the infrastructure, because we are gaining tonnage,
right.
If you're not, then your rate's, is higher.
And that's exactly the model that has been used successfully elsewhere.
To use us, correct? Okay.
Yeah, and it's not a double charge. It's not like, oh, I'm going to take all my tons and then I'm going to charge you the same amount. It's not a double charge, but it's an incremental cost that's going to offset. It's essentially the fixed cost of infrastructure charge, right? So when they go elsewhere, the entire cost goes away, but the assessment-based infrastructure charge would cover your invested fixed costs that you need in order to have these convenience centers, this transfer station. And in this case, it's really the transfer station if they're taking tonnage elsewhere. But I wanted to introduce that dynamic because it is a confounding one. It's very easy, to be honest, for a private company that owns a landfill or a transfer station to go whisper in the ear of a large waste generator like a municipality, and say, oh, gee, why don't you sign a contract with me? I'll cut 10% off your tip fee, and that's great. And then when those tip fees start escalating at 7% a year or 5% a year, it's not so good in 3 years, but they've now taken the waste away from you. And so, again, I'm maybe dramatizing for effect, but that is truly the dynamic that I think it's important to be aware of. And so, again, I think when we come to the finish line here, I think we're going to have some concepts for how to cover legitimate fixed system costs even for communities that might not directly use your service. And we think there's precedent for that. We think that's appropriate, and we just wanted to give you an alert that that's how we're thinking about it. So next steps, it's on us to get to the finish line and get these real numbers as opposed to just some status report and expectations. We're not going to finish that before Thanksgiving, but we are determined to get that done into you here in the early to mid-December timeframe. And then at that point, there will be, we think, some decisions, some pretty important decisions to make, and would kind of welcome your thoughts. And if you have questions, things you want to see in advance, things that would help you put in perspective what we're recommending, by all means, let us know. We are here to try to hear those and try to run down those answers and try to help you understand, and then in turn, be able to communicate, to your constituents and let folks know the great work that the county is providing so that you have a clean county. So I hope that was helpful. I'm sorry that I was not here with the actual rate recommendations with the one-time bump and the two-year step up and the 3-year step up, but we want to get those to you promptly, and I appreciate the chance to give a status report at this time. So thank you for your attention.
The very last sentence, talk me through that engagement, municipalities and private haulers about the value.
Well, I think that's probably our consultant speak for this notion of there's an infrastructure charge and you can take your tons elsewhere, but you need to pay us for the fixed costs of providing this system to the county. So I think that's what that is, that bottom bullet. So.
It's the assessment part, right?
So.
Plus, about your trash.
The other side of that real quick, not to prolong this garbage, but is that some of those contracts with private providers aren't full service. And so if those aren't full service contracts, there's the ability for some of the residents of those areas, they still use our system, right? But they're getting a discount because they have a contract with a private hauler, when in fact it may not be exactly a full service contract.
Absolutely.
So, there's some things to consider there too.
It was kind of a tiered kind of thing.
Yeah, they may pick up white goods and
Gotcha.
crucible, but not get
Household.
debris.
Right.
Not get
Absolutely.
limbs and sticks.
Okay.
Joey, and I tried to call Mayor Willis, but what's Allenhurst going? Right now, Walthamville picks up Allenhurst. So if Allenhurst goes somewhere else, not Allenhurst, if Walthamville goes somewhere else, is Allenhurst going with him?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know.
Allenhurst,
Right.
they're discussing that.
Allenhurst is?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know, I think Commissioner Frazier has said something about, the municipalities leaving, that's going to cost us. And I'll say this in a joking manner because that's my district. But if Walthamville leave, we ain't getting nothing from them now.
And that's what, when he said something about the cost, I said allegedly, because, we.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that was the earlier conversation part I was catching. So yeah.
I flew over you, but it's
I
fine.
missed that.
Well, thank you for your attention. Good to see you, and we'll let the next things get on.
Mr. Burley.
Now, Joey, we need to do some, lack of a better word, damage control, because if our friends from Flemington are hearing this tonight, that's going to put them into.
Well, actually,
State
the
of alert.
mayor and I had this conversation
Did
about
you?
4 months ago, and then
Yeah.
2 months ago, and then a month ago.
Yeah.
So, right,
Yeah.
exactly
I
the
don't want shock
conversation, because we
therapy
knew
today.
then, right.
Okay. All right.
I just hope Samantha got it.
Yeah. Ms. Duncan?
She left in a hurry.
She went to catch the trash man.
Bless your heart. Where do you live, dear?
I live in Jessup.
Okay, good. You don't have too far to go. You
I don't
you
gotta
spent your
drive all
whole
the way
day,
back to
you spent the whole day
Brunswick
with us. She was at City Hall earlier. Hinesville City Hall.
Mm-hmm.
Tell G-Dot we said hey.
Well, good evening, everyone. Again, my name is Shy Duncan. I am the Georgia Department of Natural Resources Coastal Resource Division's grant specialist. I coordinate the Coastal Incentive Grant. You all should have received a flyer like this in your packets tonight. So I wanted to stop by and give you all some information. Some of you may know about this grant, some of you may not, but the Coastal Incentive Grant is a competitive pass-through grant program made possible by a federal NOAA grant. And approximately $750,000 is available annually for subgrants, which is about 40% of our overall annual grant. These dollars are then available to communities and/or research institutions within the 11 coastal counties. This includes the 6 ocean-facing counties and the 5 second-tier counties. Liberty County is included. The goal of our program is to support the Coastal Management Program's mission. Our mission at CRD is to balance economic development in Georgia's coastal area to preserve the natural, environmental, historical, archaeological, and recreational resources for the benefit of Georgia's present and future generations. We also want to address local and regional coastal resource protection priorities, and we want to support research in areas of specific coastal management needs. Each project must fit under one of the approved themes. The approved themes for Cycle 28 are sustainable communities, oceans and wetlands, public access and land conservation, disaster resiliency and coastal hazards, and our newly highlighted theme is nature-based solutions. Each approved project can receive up to $80,000 in funding for research, planning, education, and/or construction acquisition projects per year. All CIG grants require a 1-to-1 non-federal match, which may be derived from cash or in-kind contributions of land, materials, and/or volunteer services. So dollar for dollar. Projects can apply for 2-year projects, which is the maximum term, with up to $160,000 available for one project. The cycle has started. Pre-applications are due December 6th. This is a competitive selected program, so full application, those selected to submit a full applications will be due February 7th. With the Cycle 28 Coastal Incentive Grant starting in October 1st, 2025. Liberty County has had 2 projects with us funded by this program before. Cycle 2, which was 1999 for a county-wide master drainage plan. And then again in Cycle 15, which was 2012 to 2013 for the Cattle Hammock Marina. This grant was to secure the planning and permitting for the new marina. So it was nice to hear you all talk about that project tonight. And with that, this concludes my presentation. I thank you all for allowing me this time. I know y'all had a busy day. There is a QR.
That's normal.
Yeah, I'll remember that for next year.
Absolutely.
There is a QR code and some information, our contacts for all of our staff specialty technicians, and my email is also on there.
So
Do you have any
you
questions?
mentioned of Calahammock, so
So we applied they helped us do the drawing and the plan for the initial marina and helped pay the soft costs for the plan development. So as we go back again, talk about modification to that, we possibly could submit for some reimbursement on some of that contracted cost and/or going forward,
Jones Creek.
use those for Jones Creek possibly too.
I was
To be
thinking
able to
about,
do that.
Yeah.
so can we get that in by December
December 6th.
Well, the Jones Creek is for planning, so Jones Creek is already being done by Trent. It's underway. But we haven't engaged the contractor for Cattle Hammock. And that would be, since that's contracted out, that cost that we're gonna pay them would be reimbursable for the
Yeah,
planning.
one or the other, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And then we.
And then going forward, NOAA also has some federal grant allocations that they fund from time to time for projects. So being able to do the CIG and have it wrapped under DNR is also a good starting point for the Cattle Hammock Pier, because that's gonna be very expensive, to which you've got no appropriation for. So you could then set up to get some other NOAA grant opportunities, provided they are funded every year by the budget, federal budget, to bring that money in to actually do construction.
Absolutely.
One project per county?
No.
No?
Just keep in mind that any project submitted is going against itself.
Okay. Have to prioritize.
Exactly.
Okay. What gives it strength? What gives
Match.
it the match?
Match.
Okay, well, all right.
Yes. Match and reporting on time.
We got the match part.
Yep.
Okay. We got the match part. Okay. Your timing is just right.
Thank you. I'm
That's
glad
right.
I was able to attend
Timing
tonight.
is just right.
Are there any other questions?
I know we got to go. I'll call you.
Awesome. I have your
I
number.
want to know more about the nature-based solutions. Are we talking about here walking trails and all those kind of things?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I won't hold the meeting tonight, but
Okay,
let's chat.
awesome. Thank you all. Have a great night.
Thank you. All right, Liberty County impact fees. Ms. Page, thank you for your patience too.
Well, thank you, Commission, and good evening. I'm Paige Hatley. I am with the Ross and Associates consultant team that's been working with the county this year to develop an impact fee study. At the end of the study, early 2025, then the Commission is positioned to consider adopting a comprehensive impact fee program, which would allow the county to collect a one-time fee from all new development to help pay for expanding public facilities that are going to be needed to serve future growth and development. And specifically, the study is looking at these following public facility categories as allowed by the state. Unfortunately, solid waste per the 1990 Development Impact Fee Act, or DEFA, is not an eligible category, but we are looking at road improvements, parks and recreation, and then a broad umbrella of public safety. You've got several subcomponents under public safety that is being evaluated. And more specifically, these are the type of actual projects that tend to be impact fee eligible under the public facility categories. So for parks, we're looking at the potential to buy additional parkland, to build additional or expanded recreation centers, playgrounds, ball fields, walking trails, et cetera. That's right. Fishing pier, boat-related facilities are common in communities, kayak launches, that's right, exactly. Bring that full circle. Road improvement projects, impact fees can't help with maintenance, but as more people come online, you got more cars on the road, so any road projects that increase capacity, and meaning you're facilitating greater traffic flow as more people are coming in. That would be road widenings, intersection improvement projects, turn lanes, roundabouts, et cetera. Buildings, that's our most common expenditure for impact fees, whether it's a substation for sheriff's department, anything related to animal control building expansion, fire station, whether it's, again, expansion or new additional buildings altogether. There's a whole variety of building projects that can be eligible for funding. Heavy vehicles, if a vehicle has a service life of at least 10 years, then impact fees can be used. That discounts, unfortunately, your typical, your patrol fleet because those cars don't have a service life of 10 years. Fire trucks are most common. Heavy specialized vehicles that may be utilized by the sheriff's department, vans, traffic trailers, et cetera, can be considered. And then related to E911, communication towers are eligible expenses as well, adding additional to increase your coverage. So as far as the process, we have a tight process in terms of there are strict state requirements. There's a Development Impact Fee Act, as I mentioned, and then the Georgia Department of Community Affairs, or DCA, has associated guidelines that we have to follow in preparing an impact fee program. So there's two main formal components. The first is a capital improvements element, or CIE. Technically, if it's adopted, it becomes an appendix to your comprehensive plan, and it focuses on and identifies all of the specific capital projects that are going to be needed over the next 20 years to serve future growth and development relative to these public facility categories: sheriff, EMS, fire, et cetera, et cetera. And then as far as how to pay for those expanded and new projects, well, what ultimately is going to be the impact fees that are charged, ranging from new houses to new commercial, retail, office, industrial, all land uses would be subject to a one-time fee, new development, and that fee schedule that is to be voted on and decided by the board is going to find a home in what's called a Development Impact Fee Ordinance. Yes, sir?
Joey, so the one that Flemington has is on houses and strictly for fire, am I right?
I was thinking there was one more component to theirs, but fire is one. There's only two components, so
Okay, you can do two,
may just be fire, but I think there's two. I think there's two
two
components.
components, okay.
So the projects are gonna be in your CIE. The fee schedule, the ultimate fee schedule is gonna be found in your ordinance. The ordinance also is detailed in terms of its guidance in administering and maintaining an impact fee program. So once that comes before you after being reviewed by the county attorney, there's just a lot of content there in detail that, again, ties back to meeting the requirements of state law. And then adoption of those two pieces, the CIE and the ordinance, then would establish an impact fee program. The underpinnings for those two pieces is a substantive technical component called a methodology report that we prepare. It is not adopted, but it gives us everything that we need, all of our calculations to prepare the CIE and the ordinance, and you're going to be seeing that as well. The CIE has to go to DCA before it can be approved. The ordinance, once it's fully vetted and reviewed and approved by all here, requires adoption after two public hearings at least 2 weeks apart. Again, state law requirement. So as far as status, as we've been working through the year, there are a few check-the-box exercises that we had to do to meet state requirements for a new community. One was an initial informational meeting for the public, technically a public hearing that was convened. We've had the first meeting with the board-appointed advisory committee that's required of all new impact fee communities. We've had several departmental meetings. That's what has taken a lot of time. There's a lot of information and data that's required. One-on-one calls, virtual meetings, in person, to make sure that we have everything we need to have a comprehensive and accurate report. So we are at the point where the methodology report, which is the big document, and we're pulling from that to create the CIE, we're sort of doing those in tandem. We are finalizing those pieces, in particular the calculations that tell us, well, what's the future growth demanding? What are these projects? What are they going to cost? And then ultimately, what's the time frame for their implementation? How that translates into actual time frame, looking to first finalize the CIE document, which lists your projects. Because that requires almost a 2-month review process that's allowed by DCA. They have about 50 days. And so while that's under review, we want to come back and actually talk about the fees. That methodology report that I mentioned, the most important part for a lot of folks is the fact that it will have what's called a maximum fee schedule. And all of the calculations within that lead to the maximum fee that could be charged per single-family house, per square foot for office, per gas pump, for gas station, et cetera, et cetera. That's then the basis for discussion to say, hey, here's your ceiling. You can charge up to that, and you could adopt a 2-page fee schedule because it's got a lot of land uses up to that, or you could adopt anywhere below that. You just can't go higher than the maximum that's been established because state law says we can't charge new development more than their fair share of the cost of additional public facilities needed in part to serve them, and that's what the methodology report helps us ascertain. And we have to have input from the advisory committee, so we'll be having additional discussions with them. Again, state law requirement where they can offer their opinion that we will share to you as far as their thoughts on the fee schedule. So at the end of it all, once the CIE and the ordinance is adopted, there's also some minimal staff training that's going to be required to make sure that if the board elects to adopt the impact fee program, then behind the scenes, there are mechanisms and procedures that need to be in place to assess and collect the impact fees. And then you're in business, if you will. And so we're looking at spring 2025 to get you to that point. So I appreciate your patience as I ran through that, and of course, open to any questions. Yes, sir.
I guess there's a slide on this available to us, information-wise, except I don't see.
Well, it was not, but we can run the printouts. Absolutely. Yeah, we'll give you a copy of this. It'd be great.
All right, you can just email it to me.
Yeah.
I'm a tree hugger.
I can make a PDF as well. You have the PowerPoint, or
yeah,
but
we
if
got it
you,
right.
okay,
We
that's
just-
fine.
yeah.
All right, very quickly, so the advisory committee will decide,
They advise.
It's advised.
There's no, they don't take a vote. I mean,
Okay.
it's, state law says that a committee has to convene at least one time before the ordinance is adopted, and the ordinance meaning the fee schedule. So we give them an opportunity to look at the ordinance. There are some, components not related to fees that we need to share with them, and we'll be discussing in detail with you, such as when there might be cases where impact fees are waived, or there are exemptions, and state law allows exemptions for affordable housing or extraordinary economic development or employment growth. But if you waive a fee, if you approve and waive the impact fee, then the money has to come from somewhere else from the county into the impact fee fund. But it's those type of things where we would get their input, suggestions on that, as well as the fee schedule. But we will just share that information with you, and you take it and
so
do
we're
with
the
it what you
final
will.
decision makers.
Excuse me?
We're the final decision makers.
Oh, certainly, sir, yes. We just, so if you adopt a program, and then typically every 5 years, about when you update your comp plan, is when we say it's good to revisit your impact fees. Then once you've adopted and you maintain and make any updates, there is no more advisory committee, but that's
Okay.
starting a brand-new program. We really need to have that, that involvement by the community.
Okay. All right.
I understand what you're saying about the impact fees, but what do you do with, I mean, the smaller cities already have, and most all cities will have an impact fee. So all we're talking about is the county.
Unincorporated area, that's right.
So, I mean, and what service are we talking about for an impact fee? I mean, you got,
Yeah, if you can you back up?
The list of, the possibilities.
The list that was
the list,
identified there.
we have to choose. We have to select.
so impact fee, let's just say that water. I mean, let's just think about, somewhere down the road getting involved with maybe a wastewater treatment plant. That's impact fees, right? To build it, I mean.
Right.
So if,
Capital.
typically for water and sewer, the rates that are, or fees that are currently charged is pretty much your impact fee. If monies are going towards creating capacity or towards system improvements as well as maintenance, then you already have an impact fee. So that's why impact fee programs typically don't touch water and sewer, because communities either don't provide that or they already have a fee system in place. And so we look at everything else. Same with stormwater. Since impact fees don't pay for maintenance, but a stormwater utility does, then we suggest do a stormwater utility. And these are, except for libraries, this is everything that is allowed by the state to be covered in an impact fee program that the county is looking at.
So with our county water system,
So you'll, when you decide, you've got an impact fee that people pay on the water system right now.
So you can't-
If they're commercial.
right, well, let's just say if you go in a subdivision, if a developer comes in to build a subdivision and it's just county water,
He's got to
if
put
they
it in.
want to use that water,
He's
then they've got to pay the impact fee?
They pay a portion per lot, basically is what it is.
And then-
And pass that on to their,
To the homeowner? Is that how it's done in the city, Commissioner Gillard, or you?
yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
just saying.
it is.
It is, okay.
It is, right.
That's how it's done in Walton, Bill.
All right, that's all I had to say. We can go ahead. I fully understand it. What I don't understand, I can get from Joey.
Thank you, Ms. Holly. We're going to get copies of this, so we'll look at it. What's our next step, Mr. Brown?
We'll wait on them to come back if you want to look at that
I saw the spring 2025, I saw that.
So you will have the capital improvements element, or CIE, you'll have that in draft form before there is the public hearing. We have to have a public hearing before you vote to transmit it, the draft, for state review by DCA. And so you'll have that and then transmit it, and then we'll move on in order to the fee setting discussions.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for your patience.
Thank
again.
you.
Okay. All right. Board Appointments Committee, you ready?
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, we didn't have any applicants for the historic or the cultural and historic society.
Nobody?
Had no applicants, and we had 3 for the Development Authority. And by majority decision, we recommend reappointing Al Williams.
Chair, entertain a motion.
I make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Is there a second?
Second.
Which second, we reappoint Representative Al Williams to the Development Authority. Any further discussion? All in favor, show of hands, please. He's reappointed.
You're running into no problem with him, are you, Mr. Chairman?
Oh, no, things are fine. He's been a great help. Culture and historical resource, so we put it out again. How are we gonna, no one applied, not one person.
Nobody.
We'll take care of it next year, don't worry about it.
We can.
Okay.
Well, the reason we got it, because y'all
December?
didn't take care of it last year.
Let's do that then.
Do it again.
Let's do that then. Okay, all right.
Okay.
So, I'm sorry,
Is that this year or next year?
this year, she said December.
Yeah, it would be
I
this
was just trying to figure out,
Hey, Maria, if you really want that done, you need to give it to us now.
Get in the middle of it.
December 3rd, when is the next meeting? We're gonna knock it out.
Hey, Commissioner Gillis,
While the iron is hot.
yeah, listen, we're gonna do better next year, man.
I
We're
know,
gonna do better.
I know.
Yes, sir, I'm sorry.
I don't know how many of you all have had issues or complaints coming from the debris company,
Hadn't heard
picking
anything.
up debris.
Hadn't heard
But
anything.
I've been getting quite a bit of it
Really?
down in District 1.
Yeah.
They'll ride by, debris side of the road, there's no wires in it or anything, power wires. I understand if power wires are,
Any
if
kind
it's
of-
contaminated
Yeah.
debris, they won't pick it up.
Right.
But I've looked at some of it, and it's not, no bag trash or nothing is in it. And we've had some of them from the state that where the city of Midway took the time and piled it all up right side the road. And somebody from our debris company went and pushed it into the woods.
So that's the state, must be the state contractor.
Was that what they're supposed to do, push it in the woods?
I don't know.
I mean, I'm just asking.
I understand how we just don't have any, that's a state contract. But keep in mind too that, and Bob and those have been out there, they were out there today, is that,
I saw 'em today, too.
anything on a state route, they cannot, ours
I saw 'em in
cannot
town.
touch.
Right, I know
So-
that.
So,
It's two-
yeah.
It's two separate contracts.
That's
I'm aware
right.
of that.
It'd have to be the side roads, but if you do know of some areas that they have not already been by, and they have a GPS locator that tells whether they've been by or not, so he could look back to see if they went to that, and if this is a second stacking or whatever, I'm not saying that's wrong. But if you'll let him know, if you'll just communicate that, we got a list today, as a matter of fact,
Well,
that we're backtracking. so.
I just got an email from Thomas Duke. I'll forward that to all of us, but it's a pretty detailed explanation of what's going on out there. And it is, it seems to be kind of sporadic, but they do have a system that is being tracked. And some people, like on the state highways, that's a different contract. That's not
Right.
crowded, that's not crowded Gulf. And I think in some cases, some people, they started on the 14th, I think, October. And some people, maybe just putting their trash out too, and they've already been by there. So they got a pretty good system. I mean, because I've been in touch with you, Joy, for the last couple of weeks and copied the chairman on it and Mr. Howard. But They're still out there.
They're still out there. I see them.
Yeah, they're still, but,
But I'll forward this from Thomas Duke, because he didn't copy all the commissioners. I got it, you got it.
Okay.
I think the chairman got it, but I'll
I got it. You might want to have Bob contact whoever his state
Well-
contact person is about the pushing in the,
Yeah, well, let me give you one incident. I know of one incident down there by Miss Maddie Hicks' house. That was there from that night, right side the road, and it's still side the
still
road.
in. Yeah.
So they have passed,
well, again, that's the state route.
I know state route, I
Yeah,
understand
yeah,
that,
there's nothing,
but
yeah.
it just looks,
Yeah,
I
don't think
understand.
the state's been-
I don't think I
been
ever
out.
caught a fish in that pond.
I don't think the state started picking up along 196.
Don't know.
There was some, tree surgeon out there cutting
what's the
the tree
deadline?
limbs down
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
along 196. I guess he's just letting them fall, then they'll come through and pick up.
They actually, I think what they're doing, well, they're doing exactly the same thing we're doing on county roads, is they have a crew that comes through, they get cut for leaners. I saw some of those today.
Yeah.
Here and other counties, but where they got a leaner crew, so the leaner crew comes out, they cut them, they don't haul them off, they drop them.
That's right.
And then the next part of that program comes through later, sometime later, and picks them up.
That's
So,
what he's doing,
yeah,
picking up
and
some
again, the problem is there's not enough of them, but yes, sir, I mean, I wish I could tell you we could help help that part of it, but unfortunately we can't. We could make calls over there and say, hey,
But
but,
also, we got some on the road, on the county
yeah,
roads.
yeah,
too,
that's
now.
where we need to know too.
Yeah.
But again, I do think it is exactly what Commissioner Gayer's describing, and this isn't the homeowner's
They got a-
fault.
they got
That they
a
are
system.
finally able to get a tree company to come by and move trees, and those trees are being put beside the road. Now, whether that's wrong or right, but that is what's happening. And so in most situations, they've been by, there was nothing there, or they picked up what was there. Now the homeowner's finally been able to gauge somebody, because they were busy, and now we got a second pile. There's been some in Hinesville that are free, they've been by there 3 times, and, we found some of those, but absolutely we can, and hey, if we want to try, if they're willing and we want to try to engage for a second round, then we can certainly try to stage that too.
What's the deadline to get it all up?
We had 90 days that was gonna be extended, and I don't have that exact start date, it was October when they started.
Okay.
And we're supposed to be getting an extension on that. Everybody was, not just us, but everybody was gonna get an extension on the 90 days.
All right.
Mr. Chair, recreation, the Teen U soccer team, also soccer team, is headed to state. They won the district. Fortunately, the 14, which was my son, they came up short too. But all of them did good. They represented in Wayne County. And tonight, the Teen U is in Waycross playing tonight for football. So, and then also, happy belated birthday to Commissioner Gillett, and happy birthday to the guy next to me, Commissioner Stevens. Commissioner Stevens, happy birthday. He's changing his battery over there.
The only briefing for the board, of course, we probably will close a little bit early on Wednesday, but we'll be closed Thursday, Friday for Thanksgiving. Back at it running on Monday. There was a group that met with the city of Midway concerning the fire presentation that you saw, gave the same fire presentation to them, and so Midway said they need time to consider exactly what they want to do. So right now, the ball is in their court as far as coming back and saying, yes, we want to try to move forward or not. Even when they say, yeah, hey, we want to try to move forward, it would need to include, okay, as y'all pointed out, what is that revenue stream? What is that contract going to look like? So, we'll just be coming back to say, here's the message one way or another, and then you can give directions on which way you want to head after that.
Would that give enough time, Mr. Brown, for them to meet
They're not going to meet a January 1st deadline. I
But
mean,
what-
not even if that was decided tonight, by the time a contract's drafted and goes through legal review and gets back to both bodies, that's not going to, it just,
where would that put them?
unless they can work something out with the state. And we'll get into that business, but, then the state does have the authority to pull their certification as far as fire goes and, make them non-compliant on fire.
The awards dinner,
I'm sorry?
the awards, I call it awards, the lunch, I'm
Oh,
sorry.
the luncheon, yes,
Yeah.
December the 9th.
13th. The day before my birthday.
And the Christmas parade, you signed, some of you all have signed up for the Christmas parade.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Get it order?
For good order? Chair, take a motion to,
We adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
is there a second?
Second.
Second, all in favor?
All right, hey, I'll catch y'all.